Hey guys, thanks for joining in early. Hope you're doing well. Campfire Tales, thanks for dropping in first. Banshee, did we ever figure out what was going on with your Discord thing? Jimmy, thank you for hopping in. Well, we have a great live stream for you guys tonight. It's going to be pretty amazing. I've got 30 pages worth of scary stories that I'm going to read to you guys. Plus other stories as well. So, yeah. So I'm excited. It's going to be good. So I appreciate you guys hopping in. Yeah, go ahead and take that shower. We're going to be on quite a bit for tonight, so we're going to be on for a while. So, yeah. Thank you guys for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. It's really nice of you guys. Alright, I think the audio sounds good for the most part. I've got my my drinks ready for tonight. That way I don't have to leave. 3 should be enough, but if I need more, I can always get more. But yeah, it'll be awesome. Keith Regal, happy birthday. Yesterday was my wife and I's anniversary. Well, happy anniversary. That's awesome. W. Theron says, I really enjoyed the Boy Scout story. Thank you. Project Delta is able to hop in. I thought we were going to lose you tonight, but I'm glad you stopped in. Thank you. It's really nice of you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, Spores. About to take a shower, and you've gone for 10 minutes. No, you're good. And then Thank you, Spore has the awesome membership badge. Cool. We got Hungry Gamer in here. Alleged first, but I think Campfire Tales beat ya. But yeah. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. Hopefully the Friday stream goes well. I haven't streamed on Friday, I don't think. So, we'll see how this works. Yeah. Alright. Let's see. I was going to wait a couple minutes. Let everyone kind of trickle in here. And then going to work my way into the stories. But yeah. Thank you guys for hopping in. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. It's really nice of you guys. I do not have pizza rolls. I wish I did that. That would be awesome. That would be intense if I had pizza rolls. That would be an awesome birthday. Yeah, I'm having a great day. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Yeah. Alright. Let's see. What kind of stories you guys looking to hear tonight? Just curious. I have a couple stories already lined up, but then I also have old stories I've written I can always squeeze in as well. So just let me know what you want to hear. Team 7, happy birthday. Thank you. Ivory LOL, hello. Thank you for joining in the live stream. Wait, we got Banshee back in the Discord? Let's see. Hopefully we do. Monster stories. I have plenty of cool monster stories. Very exciting. Alright, probably a Halloween draft. Oh yeah, we can definitely do that as well. I wanted to also go over some stories that we can work on. I've got a couple cool ones I wanted to go over with you guys. So, yeah. Yeah. The one about the scarecrow. Yeah, that's going to be a really good one. I'm really excited. Alright, I gotta give Banshee his mod back. Hold on 1 second. Let me give him his mod. Why won't it let me do that? Goatman Part 2. Ooh, that's a good one too. Yeah. Let's see. Edit roles. Give him mod. There we go. Alright. It's back to being a mod. Alright. Goatman Part 2, yeah, we're still working on that one. That one's gonna be a good one. I think it's gonna be a really good one for Halloween. Alien stories. I actually do have an alien story for you guys tonight. It's gonna be really cool. Let's see. Let me show you. Let's see what I got here so far. I haven't worked on any stories, but I have a bunch I'm gonna read for you tonight. So I've got a Nightcrawler story. I've got the Rake story I was gonna read for you guys. There's one called Why Are You Running? Or What Are You Running From? Should be an interesting one. One's called Abduction. One is called Some Curiosities Regarding Certain Images. That should be interesting. One's titled Clown in the Woods. The Man Without a Face. That one's going to be a long one. Yeah, that should be good. I'm really excited. And then I think I have one titled, what's this one called? I don't see him anymore. And then I have those, so those are roughly 30 pages worth of stories. But I also have old ones I was going to read. But yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be cool. Let's see. Yeah, we're almost at 40K, so I'm really excited. Yeah, so we're going to get some, let's see. Cornfield Skinwalker is a very interesting one as well, I agree. Oh, I sound tired? Oh, dang. Hopefully I don't. Alright. Just trying to sound scary. Alright, so let me read some stories for you guys. Alright, so let me read... I'm going to read these two stories first. These are going to be Skinwalker ones. Hopefully you enjoy it. Okay, this one is called Skinwalker in the Cave. Written by me. My name is Brenna and I work as a paleontologist, which is someone who finds and restores fossils for a living. I really enjoy my job because it allows me to work with limited human interaction, and because I genuinely enjoy finding new fossils. It's like working on an extremely hard puzzle, in which you have to find the pieces. I always get a sense of accomplishment when I either put together an incredibly difficult creature, or on the rare occurrence when I find a new species. We were called to southern Utah, in a remote section of the national parks where rock formations and caves are prevalent. This place alone is home to so many unique dinosaur finds, which often surprises people. When we go to locations like Utah, I bring a small team with me, which is around 3 people total, including myself, and we stay on site. Thankfully, my team consists of another girl, Katie, who is around my age, and an older gentleman named Papa John, who's in his early 60s. Papa John had been doing this gig longer than me and Katie had been alive. He was super cool to work with and also is a complete stoner, which makes our camping trips much more enjoyable. When we take the crew, we bring a camper and usually just stay in there together. Thankfully, Papa John isn't a creep, but rather a grandfather figure, which made sharing the same space for the time being much more bearable. Katie is like most girls, where I am not. I've been told that I give off a punk vibe, but I don't really see it. It's probably because of my piercings and tattoos. Anyways, back to the story. We'd been working on the top of the side of a mountain one day, getting samples for a possible site to find more fossils, when Papa John goes for a walk, aka his smoke break. When I say smoke, I mean weed. Instead of old John coming back with blazed eyes and a slightly staggered step in his walk, he comes back out of breath, and with excitement. Katie and I shoot our heads up to see him holding something. It appears to be a small rock that had been cracked down the middle, encasing the remains of a fossil. Apparently his smoke break actually yielded results to our dig site, and he happened to stumble across a cool find. It wasn't the rock, though, that excited him, much more so where he found the rock. He told us to follow him, which we did somewhat confusingly. He took us down this beaten path that lined the base of the mountain. The right side of the path had been overgrown with brush and sage, which made going down the path a bit of a squeeze. John was always good about finding good places to smoke so he wouldn't get caught. This was definitely the place to do it. As we continued to press through the intense brush, we eventually arrived at John's prized location, at the base of the mountain. There was a large boulder that appeared to be covering what looked like an entrance to a cave. John was convinced that this cave was sure to have priceless fossils hidden inside. The only problem with that was that we needed to find a way to move the boulder. John, being old in age and not having any equipment with him, was not able to move the boulder, but he figured that me and Katie, with a few pickaxes, would be able to chip away at the boulder's base enough for us to slip in. Looking at the truck-sized boulder, this would take us some time. I went back to the RV and grabbed 2 pickaxes and a shovel while Katie and John stayed back. We started working on the boulder, but we were only able to work on it for about an hour or 2 before the sun got too low. We figured that it would be okay to leave our tools there since the area was completely hidden. We were the only ones in the area anyways. We went back to the RV and had our typical evening of having a small dinner and playing cards. John smiled the entire night, ear to ear, with excitement. He kept telling us that his best finds of his careers had always been in areas of shelter, much like caves. Southern Utah was a hotspot for things like this. The night continued on with high energy and anticipation for what was to come of the cave. There was a good chance that there was also valuable minerals inside, depending on the age of the cave. John woke us up early the next morning with coffee and singing. He was ready to get the day started despite it still being mostly dark outside. Nonetheless, this didn't stop the jolly man from handing us headlamps and skipping down to the cave site. Katie and I were not morning people. However, it was hard to stay mad at John for too long. We made it back to the entrance of the cave, where nothing seemed out of place. Our tools still remained in the same place, as well as the menacing boulder that prevented our entry. Katie and I worked at chipping at the side of the boulder while John dug at its base. The chipping seemed nearly pointless since progress was so minimal. I'm sure that with the right people and the right equipment that this would have been able to be moved in a mere amount of seconds. But time nor money happened to be on our side. About halfway through the day, John was able to dig enough at the base to make a shift about half a foot. This was enough to open a 2-foot hole near the bottom, where the boulder met the cave. Although being small, it was just enough to send one person in without any gear. John was too big and I had claustrophobia, so I was definitely not going in until the entrance was much bigger. This left it to Katie, who was always up for a challenge. She took off her gear and got on her hands and knees and tried wiggling her way in. She kept her headlamp on from earlier this morning and peered inside. She told us how large the cave was, and that we definitely needed to come in and explore it. We handed her the gear and told her that we would keep working on the boulder without her while she explored. We told her to be careful and not to get lost. Caves were notorious for people going missing. We worked more on the boulder, which took us some more time. After another hour or 2, we managed to produce another 4 inches on both sides of the hole to the entrance of the cave. This would not be enough for John to fit in, and I still wasn't quite comfortable trying to squeeze in with this size. We called into the hole for Katie to give us a quick update, but she didn't answer. We figured that she was too far into the cave for her to hear us, and we kept working. We worked a little bit more before John and I decided to take a quick smoke break. I wasn't really one for smoking, but I was tired. My muscles ached. I definitely could use the break. We just sat off the side of the boulder, and John lit up his smoke. I drank a Powerade that I had in my bag while downing a Cliff Bar that had since melted from this morning. I catch a bit of secondhand smoke from John's weed, and I felt lightheaded. John and I were talking about music and other random things when we heard a muffled scream coming from inside the cave. We looked at each other, rather confused, and snapped out of our trance we had. John and I both ran over to the hole and peered inside while shining a flashlight. "Katie, are you okay?" John said, genuinely concerned. However, we got no response, which was rather concerning. John looked to me with the look of shock on his face. "We need to open this cave right now," he said. A chill went down my spine when I said, "I will go in to check on her." John looked even more surprised. "Brenna, are you sure? You don't have to do this. We can work on the boulder some more so you don't have to feel so claustrophobic." I sized the slightly bigger hole up in my mind, and I figured that it was doable. I lied to myself. I took off my bag and put my headlamp on. The lamp wasn't very bright, but it was better than nothing. I started going in head first, and I worked my way in. The cave immediately opened up once I got a few feet in, which was reassuring. However, I felt pressure on all sides of my body while going through. This triggered my phobia, and I began to slightly panic. I pushed through more hastily and finally made it in without having a full panic attack. I felt proud of myself. I was able to overcome one of my greatest fears that I had in a very much needed situation. I snapped myself out of my congratulations and began my search for Katie. The cave was tall and was somewhat wide, but was completely dark, save for the small hole of light that I had just entered from. The hole was able to illuminate about 20 feet or so, but anything beyond that was completely dark. I was able to notice that on the ground were footprints. It would have had to have been Katie's. This should have made it rather easy for me to find her, since the cave had yet to split in any other directions, which caves were known to do. I made sure to not wander far, yet keep a watchful eye for Katie. I called out her name rather loudly, since I had no need to be quiet. I was trying to find someone, so this should have been the best course of action. My cell phone would have obviously not have been able to work in the cave due to the poor reception. I kept following the footprints, which went in deeper into the cave. The cave not only went into the mountain, but also on a downward slope. The cave floor went from dirt to mud, to now stone, which made tracking Katie's prints almost impossible. I couldn't help but notice the temperature getting more and more cold. This was fine, although I wasn't dressed for anything below 70 degrees. I also noticed that my senses were on high alert. I attributed this to my adrenaline pumping from claustrophobia, my claustrophobic encounter from earlier. My hair stood on the back of my neck, and I now felt scared. I was about to decide that the search for Katie would have had to wait until John opened the cave more, and he would be able to come inside. That's when I heard it. That's when I heard a scream. Not Katie's scream, to be exact, but rather something else. It didn't sound like Katie at all. It sounded carnal, like some type of large predator animal. I froze in my place. But then I realized that cave systems often had air circulate throughout them, creating strange sounds. I only knew this because I had worked on an excavation site that was in a cave in college. The sounds can often be terrifying, much like the one I just heard, but when you realize that when air is flowing through jagged rocks, much like the ones that line the walls of this cave, that it made more sense. I was tempted to call out again to Katie, but the gust of wind that resembled a scream had caused me to no longer be as brave. I turned back to check up on John to see what progress he had made, and to also alleviate some nerves that I had recently acquired. Thankfully, I hadn't made it too deep into the cave, so the walk back only took a few minutes. When walking back, I could see the light coming in from the hole and movement from outside. Before I was within talking distance to John, I heard a rock fall deep from within the cave, from where I was just standing. This could have been Katie. I stopped in my tracks and looked both ways, back to the entrance and then back again to the sound in which the sound came from within the darkness. I decided to check in with John to let him know that I was okay, and that I thought I heard Katie. I went over to the hole and I noticed that it was much more smaller now. My heart sank. There was no way I was going to be able to get through this hole. "John, what happened to the hole?" I screamed. "Sorry, Brenna," he shouted. "When I was digging the boulder, it readjusted due to the soft soil." However, I heard Katie on the other side of the boulder. "Brenda, I found another way out of there," she exclaimed. "You just need to go in deeper and take a left at the large stalactite. From there, you'll be able to hike up and out near the camper. But be careful. I think there's something living in there." My fear became paralyzing. I knew that Katie was just trying to help, but that information about the animal absolutely terrified me. I considered just waiting by the entrance until they are able to shift the boulder again for me to fit through, but that could take hours. Plus, I could tell that it was getting dim outside since the light that was coming in wasn't as bright. My thoughts raced about this wind gust and that the rock that fell from earlier. Hopefully that was the cause of the rock to fall, and not some animal that was going to eat me. I hiked a good way into the cave, and I had yet to see any mineral formations that even resembled a stalactite. Thankfully, my LED headlamp had fresh batteries from this morning, so I could count on at least a few good hours of light before my light gave out. I walked further in and heard a wind gust much louder this time. However, it didn't sound like the one before. This time it had a whistle to it, and I actually felt the gust of wind. This was both good and bad, since whatever I heard earlier might have not have been the wind gust. However, this did mean I was near an entrance to a cave. I pressed on further into the cave, doing my best to stay calm to find the underground landmark to guide me to the exit. But the further I went in, the more I felt despair and hopelessness. I am not sure if this had to do with the cave itself or the looming idea of there being something malicious hiding in its depths. I did my best to stay silent, so I could try to hear more gusts of wind, but also to try to stay concealed in the darkness that surrounded me. Up ahead I heard something. This time it wasn't a gust of wind or a scream from some animal, but rather shuffling, as if something was walking around on all fours, and they were crawling through the cave. Not knowing what to do, since I had no way to defend myself, nor anywhere to really run, I did the only thing I could do in my state of panic, which was to turn off my light. This was a huge risk, since most animals, if not all of them, that live in caves have the ability to see in the dark. If this was the case, then turning off my light would only put me at a disadvantage. I had to act fast, since whatever was coming at me seemed to be coming quickly. There was a good chance that whatever it was had already seen my light, but I had to try. I turned off my light and held my breath. The shuffling continued up until where I was standing, and it stopped. My heart sank and my blood froze. Something knew that I was standing here. Instead of shuffling, I then heard the sound of sniffing, coming from a small distance away. It was as if whatever it was knew I was there, but couldn't quite pinpoint exactly where. I leaned up against the wall of the cave and ran my hands along the wall, hoping for something to try to climb on. I grabbed what felt like a solid hold that could elevate me a few feet, and I silently started to climb. My feet felt around for any type of support to help lift me, but I felt nothing. I then pushed on the wall of the cave with my feet to pull myself up using my non-existent upper body strength. The hold I was grasping with my shaky hands started to crack and completely disconnected from the wall. I then fell only a few feet, but it was enough to get the attention of whatever it was that was sniffing. By whatever unfortunate circumstance that caused the rock to disconnect from the wall, fate seemed to somehow turn to my favor, as I was now holding a pear-sized rock in my hand. before I could even register the pain from falling those few feet. I was then grabbed by the creature. To my surprise, I was not met with sharp teeth, but rather rough textured hands. Something grabbed my legs, and it let out a scream that resembled the sound I had heard earlier in the cave. My instincts kicked in, and I swung the rock I held in my hand in the direction of the scream, and I instantly connected with soft tissue. But I heard a cracking sound upon connection, then sobbing. I was confused, as I was under the impression that I was being attacked by some kind of animal, but it was now crying. Did I just hit someone in the face with a large rock? My adrenaline was at an all-time high, and I was very confused. I turned on my light, not thinking at all about the situation, and I instantly regretted it. My light shined on what looked like a woman, but her hair was ragged and it covered her face. The woman was wearing pelts of fur from other animals, which looked like it was rotting. The woman was clutching her face that spewed dark red blood profusely. The woman was crouching down, which made her seem normal size, but when I tried to speak to her, she glanced over at me through her matted hair and stood up. The woman was grotesquely tall. I was more confused than anything by this. Her arms were long and were connected to ungodly-looking hands that had long brown nails that resembled claws. The woman was no longer sobbing, and she removed her hand from her face, revealing that I indeed smashed her mouth with the rock. Her sobbing turned into rage as she revealed that her teeth were now somewhat reddened and broken. My first hit with the rock was a miracle, since I'm very uncoordinated. I tried to throw the rock at the woman, but was nowhere near hitting her. I turned immediately and I ran. I could hear the woman behind me drop to all fours and begin to pursue me. The adrenaline was able to give me a quick boost of stamina, but it didn't last long. I heard screams coming from behind me, but to my surprise, I also heard distant ones up ahead. It was as if she was alerting others. As I ran, I then entered what appeared to be a large opening in the cave. To my horror, it revealed a horrific sight of more creatures like the woman. However, they seemed to be eating someone that was rather distracted by my entrance. I could see that they were now eating due to the colors of the clothes of the person were bright and recognizable. They were eating Katie. Thankfully, the creatures were preoccupied with their current meal that they seemed to not care I was in their place. I continued past the small group and pressed on into the cave, looking for anything that could get me out of here. The woman, however, continued her pursuit behind me, despite being a good distance away. The woman behind me started to make up ground as I began to tire from fatigue. The woman behind me was starting to make good ground as I began to tire. There was a good chance that this cave didn't have another entrance. However, my light then had caught a flash of a stalactite that hung right before the entrance of two caves. I remember Katie's instructions to take the cave to the left, which I did. The cave took a sharp left. Thankfully, the advice from Katie seemed to prove useful, as I saw the cave veer up to the left and upwards. The incline was steep and the ground was wet from moisture. A light current of water slowly trickled in on jagged rocks, making my footing very slippery. I was forced to go on my hands and knees to scale up my way without slipping. This thankfully seemed to slow the creature behind me enough for me to ascend without being attacked. I reached the top of the cave, and to my delight, it led to another small opening that led outside. Thankfully, it wasn't small enough to trigger my claustrophobia, but I did have to duck to get through. I went outside and saw that the exit was on the side of the mountain that seemed extremely out of the way. It was now nighttime, and it was raining. I looked around and could see our camper a good distance down, and the lights were on. I wasn't sure if the creature was still behind me, but I didn't take any chances. I shuffled quickly down the steep mountain, sometimes having to slide down on my bum, which tore up my pants, but I didn't care at this point. I could now feel the pain of all the scratches and bruises from my horrific pursuit that had occurred. My hands were cut and my legs ached from the small fall and were sore from all the running. I reached the trailer and fell down while banging on the trailer door. I was met by Papa John and by Katie. I was out of breath and I couldn't say anything except for a few words. I pointed at Katie in confusion and tried to explain what I saw in the cave. Katie and John both looked at each other and grinned at me with wide smiles, revealing long, sharp teeth. Both then started to convulse and shake while slowly shifting into those creatures from inside the cave. They both grabbed me, and rather than killing me right then and there, they began dragging me back into the cave. Alright. Man, I forgot how long that was. That's a long one. It's a long one. Alright. Thank you guys for all jumping in the live stream. I really appreciate it. Let's see. Let's see. Cornfield Skinwalker was good. Will you be continuing the mountain? Happy birthday. Great question. So I didn't write the mountain. The mountain was written by an author that submitted that story to me. His name was David Morningway. So I didn't write that one. So if he writes more parts to that, then yeah, I can definitely do that. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I appreciate the happy birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Let's see, National Park Stories. Edward Papek. Hey, my man, a Tropic Society. Happy birthday. Thank you. 1xView. Happy birthday face reveal? Good question. I was actually going to do a face reveal, and then Dream did a face reveal, and I was like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know about this. But I did consider it, though. Yeah, talking on live is not as easy. I stumble quite a bit. Magic Jim, what's up? Let's see here. APF SDS. Happy birthday. Thank you. Dayan. Happy birthday to my favorite storyteller. Thank you. That's high praise. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. Unfortunately, I cannot attend for very long as I'm getting ready to camp. Oh, nice. That's awesome. Happy birthday to one of the greatest narrators. Unfortunately, I cannot attend for very long. I hope your day is amazing. Thank you, Dora Kennedy. I really appreciate that. Happy birthday from horror lover to horror lover. Absolutely. Soupy. Hey, Entropic. I'm in a rush at the moment, but please have a wonderful birthday. Bye. Absolutely. Thanks for hopping in. I appreciate it. Deep Forest Bear. Hey, Entropic. Late to the stream, but we're here, and happy birthday. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Yeah, thank you. Jeez, I got shivers. That was great. Was that your latest story? Actually, a Skinwalker. Was that your latest story? Huh? Spooky story. That one was an older story I wrote. That one's a couple videos old. But yeah. Spook story. Yeah. Let me get some drink here. I'm kind of thirsty. Alright. Happy birthday from Switzerland. Thank you. I appreciate that. Alright, let's see. Alright. Jack Will the Fox 667. Happy birthday. Thank you. Do you like Lil Uzi Vert? Great question. I don't I'm not too familiar with his music. So I can't say I know too much about him. Feliz cumpleaños. Thank you. I appreciate that. Will you be able to read the Goatman story tonight? I should be. I don't see why I wouldn't be. Dift. Happy birthday. Thank you. Let me see. How much progress have we had in that story? I haven't really looked at it recently. Let's see here. Oh, I gotta go to my other one. I keep forgetting. Let's see here. What's this one? What's this story? Oh, that's where the story went. Okay. I have a story by Project Delta that he submitted to me. I couldn't find it, and then I realized it's on my other account. Yeah, let me see if I can edit this. Should be a good one. Let me see if I can maximize this a little bit so I can read it better. Let me hop in here. Alright. Get a new one going. Alright. Alright, this story was submitted to me by Project Delta. I will give it a read. I think it'll go well with tonight's live stream. Let's see. Stay hydrated, absolutely. Gotta be playing with those tech decks. Interesting. I love your videos, man. I fall asleep to them all the time. Thank you. Ever heard of Siren Head? I have, yes, I have. Gotta be playing with those tech decks. Yeah, oh, nice. 3 a.m. Siren Potion video coming soon. Yes, it is. It's dropping as we speak. Do not call Siren Head at 3 a.m. challenge. That's what that one is. Yeah, buddy. Alright, I got another one here. This one's gonna be, I don't know if this one has a title or not. I don't think it has a title, but it was submitted by Project Delta. He's one of the mods on Discord and this channel. So let's give it a read. My name is Mitch, and I'm 23 years old. I served in the Marine Corps for 4 years, and I recently got out. As a surprise celebration, my parents invited me to come up camping at a national park with them. I was pretty excited about this, especially having been on duty for quite some time. I got packed up and headed for the car when I noticed something strange. For context, I live in the Arizona desert, far away from any towns. As I noticed this thing, I got some very strange vibes from it. It was like I was being watched. I looked away for a second and it was gone. I shrugged it off as my mind playing tricks and got into my mom's Chevy Tahoe. As we started to start our 7-hour drive, my mom started telling me a story about the car we were in. My mom said, a man named Deputy Steele used to drive it. It was his service car. He drove it around Montana and Sun, but after an incident that no one knows about, he resigned from duty. After his resignation, the police department put the car up for auction, and that's how I have it. As my mom was saying this bizarre story, the feeling from earlier arose, which made me feel pretty on edge. I just brushed the story off as an old folktale and continued the drive in silence. After 7 hours passed by, we finally got to our camper and started to unload. My dad came to the site 30 minutes later in his truck. He was carrying most of the tent supplies. We got the tent set up and started to move supplies into the tent. After the supplies were in the tent, we just sat back and listened to the ambience of the forest. The forest had always been my favorite place. No busy streets, no sand blowing in your eyes, just pure relaxation. It was around 7 p.m. when a friend of mine texted me. He didn't know I was out of service, so he was surprised when I texted him back. My friend is the cool guy from a coastal area. He taught me about cryptids and etc. I told him that I was in a forest, and he started saying all that I will see was a Skinwalker or a Wendigo. That sort of stuff. I just brushed it off and continued on with my day. As it got late, I started to wind down, and I fell asleep shortly after. I slept in my own tent knowing that my parents didn't mind. plus I was a very independent man after all. At around 4 a.m. in the morning, I jolted awake due to a nightmare. Right after this, I started to have that weird feeling again, this time much, much stronger. I looked behind me and I saw a shadow of something. It started to circle my tent in a very unusual way. Its neck was cracked one side, like something was breaking its neck over and over again. Now I was terrified. I grabbed my Glock that I had brought and white-knuckled the foregrip. It started to slowly scrape along the side of my tent, circling my tent ever so slowly, as if it was trying to instill more fear into me. Let's see. When it finally reached where my head was, it stopped, slowly turned its head and smashed its face into the tent. I jumped back in pure fear to the other side of the tent. This thing slowly ripped the tent open, and I saw something that would keep me awake to this day. The thing had dark, hollow spots for eyes. It had a human-like face and antlers like a moose. The thing had a body of a deer and hooves for feet. It stood on its hind legs, and it peered into the tent and saw me. I was instilled with fear. My body wouldn't let me move. It just stared at me for ages, when all of a sudden it started to grin. Grin wider than its face could handle. It showed its teeth. The teeth did not resemble structure, rather it just was everywhere. Right when I thought it couldn't get any worse, its jaw unhinged and it screamed. The scream didn't seem natural. With ringing ears and fear riddling my bones, I brought my gun up and fired. I fired again and again. I was so bone-shakingly terrified I barely stopped my finger from pulling the trigger. I kept firing until I heard a click. I saw that my slide was back and that I had ran out of ammo. I looked at it, whatever the heck this thing was that I was shooting at. It stood back, looked down at its chest, and started to cry. This monster of a being started to cry for whatever reason that couldn't be answered. As it kept crying, it transformed into what looked like to be my mom. I was so shocked that I was pretty much speechless. She said, "Honey, don't do this. You're making a big mistake. Big mistake. Mistake." Her voice kept repeating that until it trailed off. Then what looked like to be my mom suddenly vanished. What the heck just happened? What? My voice just trailed off like the wind flowing through the trees. I blacked out a second later. I woke up on the ground of my ripped tent. I instantly went to go check on my parents, and I saw something that I thought would never exist. Not only was it a bloodbath, but what looked to be a symbol of some kind built with the bones of my loved ones. I backed up. I couldn't even process what I just saw. I fell to the ground, coping and sobbing. I just wanted to get the heck out of here. I wanted this world to vanish. I hoped this would all just be a bad dream, but it wasn't. This was reality. And the reality is your worst enemy in this world. Oh, nice. That was pretty good. Project Delta coming in clutch with the story. Very nice. Let's see. Okay, Project Delta says it's called Some Things Can't Be True. Interesting. Advancer 2, hello, just doing the stream. Nice. Alright, let's find some more stories. Alright, I finished this drink, I need another one. Alright. Voltage to the rescue. Okay. Alright, well, I'm really excited for this live stream, for one, but also for the coming up live streams, the 13 nights of Hallow streams. That's going to be really cool. For those of you that don't know, the first night we're going to have Mortis Media. He's going to join us for the first night, so that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for that. He's He's got an amazing channel. I've watched him quite religiously for some time, so I'm really excited for that. So yeah, I'm really excited. We got a bunch of other cool channels hopping on. We got Vid22, Campfire Stories. I got a couple of old friends coming on. I got let's see, what's his name? Maskino is coming on. I've got Spirit Voices is an old friend of the channel. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm really excited. So yeah, all right. Let's find some more stories for us. All right. Let me get another drink. Toast Cat, happy birthday! Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, let me get another story. All right, so let's see. What's a good story for us? I could do another Skinwalker one. I think that would be fun. I like this one a lot. So I have a bunch of stories I had prepared I haven't read before. I'll read this one, and then I will read those stories. So this one is The Basement Skinwalker. I like this one a lot. So this will be the last one that I've read before, and the rest should be other ones that, well, I guess some of them I've read before, but yeah. Okay, here is the The Basement Skinwalker. My dad died last year in a car wreck, which was a terrible tragedy. I was in my late 20s and I was an only child, so I inherited a large portion of his inheritance. My mother received his life insurance and warned me to be smart with the money. I was working as a car cleaner at a dealership which barely paid more than minimum wage. I had gone to college but dropped out due to partying too much and sloughing on my grades. I was never one for school. I always thought that it was for suckers that didn't know how the real world worked. You don't need to know how to use the Pythagorean theorem to start a company or to buy a house. Anyways, I've always had plans to start my company. I followed a bunch of people on social media that had rental properties and timeshares that made them tons of money. And I figured that now that I actually had money to invest, that now was the time. I considered investing in crypto or random stocks like Tesla, but I figured that rental properties were the way to go, since that even if no one were to rent them, that I could always at least live in them for the time being. I searched the local real estate listings for great properties that I could use to rent, but I was looking for quantity, not quality. Everything I was looking at would run me dry, and I wouldn't even get 2 properties out of it. I needed something more off the grid, something I could buy cheap and build multiple units on. I was driving late one night and I noticed on the outskirts of town there was a large property with old rundown homes on it. There were about 3 small homes with a trailer and other stuff on the property. I pulled off the side of the road and got out to see if there was any listing for the property, since it looked like no one lived there. It was around 1 a.m. or so, and there were no lights coming from inside of any of the homes, so I figured that jumping the fence and taking a quick look around would be fine. The fence was an old barbed wire fence that had tons of slack on it, so I was able to easily jump over it. I walked quickly with my smartphone out and turned on the flashlight feature. The more I walked into the property, the more I saw trash and other garbage lying around. I noticed there were 2 old-looking cars that were around the 1970s with rusted-out frames and non-existent glass in any of the windows. They were parked next to the old trailers that were missing a door. I skipped over the trailers since I was not interested in it, and I would end up throwing it out anyways, if given the chance. I took a quick look at the outside of the house, or what was left of it, and I knew right away that I wouldn't be able to use them since they looked unstructurally sound. However, despite not wanting to keep the house, curiosity did get the better of me, and rather than just accepting the house as being unsafe, I decided to take a look inside. The interior was equally unimpressive as it revealed a ruined result of a decaying home. At first glance, the walls were lined with graffiti, and the floors were covered with trash. However, there was something about the graffiti on the walls that began to give me a sense of dread. Normally, graffiti is random ramblings of curse words, slurs, and your occasional outlines of obscene images. However, this graffiti looked different. The markings on the wall looked more coordinated in terms of color and in style of images. After closely shining my smartphone's light upon the dirty brown walls, I then realized that the markings were symbols, all with different colors and shapes of red. Some markings looked newer than others. I want to say that the symbols were letters, but they were unlike anything I'd ever seen before. Amongst the symbols were also very grotesque depictions of stick figures being subjected to what I can only describe to be some type of evil force that would either torture or consume the stick figures in some way. These depictions also followed the same style that the symbols were drawn, as if the symbols in the drawings were all from the same source. After seeing no more than a few minutes of what I can only imagine to be the mad rantings of an extremely disturbed person, I decided that what I was seeing was enough for me to leave. However, I was also compelled by a completely morbid side of me to take photos of these images, mainly to try to see if I could find the meaning of any of this on the internet. As I was taking photos and slowly making my way out of the home, I noticed that the symbols led me to a doorway that had a set of stairs going downwards. On the doorway, however, was written a word that I did understand, a word that both disturbed me but grabbed my attention in a way that I couldn't turn down despite how terrifying it may have been. The word written on the wall was hell. My body was telling me that there was unspeakable horrors awaiting in the darkness that lay beneath, but my mind was all too curious. I shined my phone's light down the half-dozen wooden steps and saw that the writings continued. My step on the stair let out a creak that shook every bone in my body. It was also as if I were to be awakening the devil himself. I held my breath as I continued down, knowing fully well that I had already made enough noise to alert anyone of my presence here. My descent down was exponentially worse. There was no moonlight coming in from the broken windows to supplement additional light like it did upstairs. This basement carried a fog of darkness and an ever so slight tinge of hopelessness. The basement reeked of death and decay that smothered you like a dirty blanket that you couldn't remove. I could feel myself losing my mental fortitude, as if I were to be enslaved to this basement forever. I reached the bottom, and either out of habit or as a cry for help, I tried the light switch that laid at the bottom of the stairs. To my shock and pleasant surprise, the basement imperfectly illuminated a dirty yellow glow, casting undeserved light on the wretched filth that inhabited the basement. The only light bulb that lit up in the basement was next to another doorway in the corner of the basement. I could see old furniture covered with black mold and mounds that looked like old wet carpet in the middle of the floor. I noticed, despite the mess, that the floor in the middle had more writings, except these looked much more different than the ones upstairs. These looked like the symbols from upstairs, but they were neat and organized, in what appeared to be a perfect circle. It was preoccupied with the symbols on the floor, and the light being inadequate for basic vision that I didn't realize that the wet mounds of carpet that laid in the center of the circle was actually decayed flesh of an assortment of animals. That is, until my flashlight better illuminated the horrors before me. At that very moment, my eye caught movement, ever so slightly, coming from the doorway next to the light. I didn't see a demon or a serial killer with the hockey mask. What I did see was a long, protruding arm, reaching towards the single bare bulb, grasping it with impossibly long fingers and crushing the bulb, and the only other light source besides my pitiful phone. The bulb made a loud popping sound, causing me to jump and drop my phone into the mound of flash. Thankfully, my phone landed downwards, where the light on the back was able to cast the light up. I didn't bother going for my phone, but rather, I ran through the basement, up the stairs and out of the house. The next thing I knew, I was outside, and out of breath. I was not entirely sure if I was followed, but nonetheless, the experience was one I would never forget. I jogged back to my car, looking back at the home that hid those horrors beyond my imagination, half expecting to see some ungodly creature crawl out after me, but nothing. I stood half terrorized, yet also confused. Is it possible that I imagined that? Not the writings or the mound of flesh, but the arm, I mean. The basement was dark and I couldn't see that well. Regardless, there was no amount of money that could have been offered to me to go back into that basement to retrieve my cell phone. Alright. Blizzard Peak, first donation of the night, $1.99. Happy birthday. Thank you. I appreciate that. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Haven't been able to listen to your stories, but now I can. Thank you, Logan. Appreciate that. HM, happy birthday. Sorry I'm late. I was grocery shopping. No, you're good. We are going to be on here for quite a while tonight, so you got plenty of time. You're plenty early. You're good. Thank you. So that story was quite an interesting one. I actually have a backstory to that. I didn't write it, but there is actually a backstory to everything that was going on. So in that story, what ended up happening is the backstory to that. It was going to be this family that lived in a trailer. They were like a part of a cult, and they would try to summon this creature. And so in the basement, that's what it was. They tried to summon it with like all these dead animals, and anyways, what ends up happening is they summon the creature, and the creature kills all the people, and that's why it's uninhabited. And then the creature goes upstairs and writes more symbols and things like that. So that's the backstory for that. But yeah, thank you, Spore99. Sorry I had missed the past two streams. I have been busy with sports. Nice. What sports do you play? And you were totally good. It's not important. Okay. Asks, how old are you? Great question. Today I am turning 29. Yeah, 29. Almost 30. Almost 30. Not quite 30. But yeah. Man. It's already been an hour. That's incredible. Let me hop in here really quick. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the live stream. I hope so. I can only hope. I can only hope. Let's see. How do I fix some things on here? Is my live stream made for... yes, it is made for... yeah. Nice. I add that on there. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having fun. I love doing live streams, so hopefully you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. That's what I want to do for my birthday, is live stream. Yeah, cool. Alright, I think I got it. Let's see, you can send messages. Cool. Okay, I think I got the stream set the way I want. Nice. Yeah. Cool. Alright, so let's see here. Adult voltage. Yeah. Let's see here. I play baseball. Oh, nice. What position do you play? That's very cool. Lomty, can you say what's up, George? Or is it Jorge? What's up, George or Jorge? Hope you're doing well. I don't know if I can say that. I don't know if I can do that. I'm contractually bound to not say what's up, George. I can only say ads for Raid Shadow Legends. Anything else I can't say. Legally speaking, of course. Let's see. Alright, I already read this one. Alright, let's get some other stories going. Let's get some other stories going. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Who put the scorpion on the moon? Alright, let's see what else we got. Peaceful Grotesque, happy birthday. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for joining in. Second base. Oh. Thank you, support for the second base. Nice. I used to play third base back in the day. That was a while ago. That was a hot minute ago. Yeah. Yeah. Alright. Let's get some more stories going. I've got a ton of stories I have to read tonight, so... yeah. So I was going to do this for a couple of hours. We're already 1 hour in, so... yeah. Yeah. See, I did nighttime airsoft yesterday. We played until 5 a.m. That is intense. That is intense, my guy. I expect nothing less, of course. Okay. Here we go. This one is called The Nightcrawler. Actually, I think I read this last stream, but I liked it so much, so I'm going to read it again. But yeah. Let's see here. Use your thermal. Oh, nice. Oh, that's what you got the thermal for. Okay, cool. Well, that makes sense then. Nice. Alright, here we go. Let me get another sip before I read this one. Okay. The Nightcrawler. No author. There has been a lot of discussion surrounding the mysterious footage of the so-called Nightcrawler. I grew up in Fresno area of California and for many years had no handle on terrifying teenage experience that haunts me to this day. It began in 1993 when 3 friends and I decided to spend an autumn night in the woods near Millerton Lake. It was the perfect conclusion to an amazing summer, and something we had planned for so long but always found a way to put off. We walked aimlessly by the lake for hours, skipping stones, fishing, and enjoying the warmth of the quickly fading sunlight. The warmth soon disappeared behind the treetops, and we decided to walk a little further into the undergrowth to find a good spot to set up a camp for a night. Alex and I set up the tent while Terrence began collecting wood for a campfire. We had beer, meat, and all the necessary components for a long night's supply of s'mores. The cold night air soon enveloped our campsite, and crickets began to sing, as the smoky scent of the steak we were cooking drifted into the trees, and up into the clear night sky. As we finished off the last of the beer, we noticed that we had slightly underestimated the amount of wood needed to keep the fire going, and so I decided to hunt around for some dry logs and branches. I paced around the campsite but couldn't find anything more substantial than a couple of twigs, so I decided to grab a flashlight and leave the safety of our enclosure out into the wall of darkness surrounding us. It became clear that this forest had experienced a run on fire building materials, because for the life of me, I could not find anything big enough to justify carrying back to camp. I didn't think I had wandered far when I heard a rush of air behind me. I turned around and saw the leaves on the forest floor twirling in the beam of my flashlight. A small dust devil, perhaps, but as soon as I fixed my gaze ahead of me and back towards the campsite, I noticed that things were not quite right. I hadn't walked more than 200 meters, and yet I couldn't see any glow of a fire whatsoever. I began to feel incredibly uneasy at the implication that I had somehow wandered further from the campsite than imagined. I was now on an and was now lost in these ominous woods alone. I managed to collect myself and began retracing my steps. The sameness of every direction was disconcerting. However, I could see impressions in the dirt of where I had previously walked, so I followed intently, knowing that I would soon see the glowing orange light of the fire and the welcoming silhouettes of my friends by intent. The more I walked, the more I began to feel that things were not right. I was still following the trail of my footsteps, and yet somehow after 5 minutes of walking, I was no closer to the campsite. I knew I had not walked for this long on my way out here. I stopped, feeling the need to crouch down and consider the situation, before fear began to take hold. I looked around and began to notice that the trees around me felt strangely distant and faint, almost as if they were shrouded in a dark mist. This wasn't a physical mist, but rather something ominous that had somehow cloaked the forest in darkness. This wasn't just the darkness of night, but beyond that. You could feel it. I stood up, however, and logic prevailed as I continued along the path of my footsteps. In the distance, I could see something familiar. I immediately picked up the pace, and as I got closer, I realized that it was the campsite, but there was no fire. The camp felt completely cold and empty. It seemed strange that the fire would have died so quickly, but not beyond reason. I finally reached the tent, and that uneasy feeling that I managed to suppress quickly reappeared as I realized that my friends were no longer there. I called out their names and shined my flashlight into the surrounding foliage, but there was no response. At this point, all semblance of composure left my body. I realized that they could have simply wandered off to try to find me, but I somehow knew that this was not the case. Call it a sixth sense, if you will. I decided the only thing to do was to try to restart the fire with whatever fuel I could find, but no matter what I did, no flame would appear from my Zippo lighter, as if it too wanted to hide away from the overwhelming darkness. I sat down again with my head in my hands, racking my brain for an explanation of the events so far. I began to feel the surrounding blackness scurry closer towards me, as if it knew that somehow the absence of fire had removed some protective force field from around the camp. The next thing I can recall is just being confronted by the most terrifying sound. It can only be described as an eerie whirring noise, almost like a tornado siren, but completely unnatural and unlike anything I had ever heard. Chills ran down my spine as I sat up to determine the source of this haunting sound. It seemed to be reverberating throughout the tree trunks of all directions, as the breeze, which had been ever present throughout the evening, seemed to retreat almost instantly into the silence. I heard footsteps and immediately rejoiced that my friends were returning to camp, and that we could discuss the night's events and at long last put myself at ease. As I listened to these footsteps drawing closer, I felt a sudden uneasiness, as I realized that there was something very wrong with the sound. They were far too slow. It sounded as if they were walking unnaturally leisurely, artificially, or alternatively that they were on stilts. The more I listened to these footsteps, the more convinced I became that this was the sound of someone walking on stilts. And this thought really scared me because, after all, who or what would be walking on stilts in the pitch blackness and the thick of the forest? I shone my flashlight in the direction of the sound, dreading what I might see, but I had to know. The footsteps were closer than ever now. They must be right here, I thought. Suddenly an object glint in the beam of light. The footsteps stop. At this point I am absolutely frozen in terror as I glimpse a small white object through the trees. It moves slightly and I see what looks like a head and legs. The head slowly turns towards me and what I see causes me to scream, but no sound comes out of my mouth. The head is completely featureless. There are no eyes, no mouth, no nose, and no ears. And yet I know that it's looking at me. It had no body, just a featureless head attached to a long, sinewy-like legs. It must have been no taller than 4 feet. It slowly turned its face back to the direction in which it was traveling, as far as I could tell, and it began an uncanny gait back into the darkness. I sat there shaking and mumbling as I tried to console myself. I had no explanation for what I had just seen. Just as quickly as it arrived, the ghostly darkness that surrounded everything vanished, and the breeze returned to the trees. There they were, my friends, between the trees. I ran towards them, and they were shocked to see my expression. "What the heck is wrong?" Terrence shouted as I reached them. It seemed that they had heard something moving towards the edge of the lake and had gone to investigate, thinking it was me. It seems they couldn't find their way back to camp and also found themselves trapped on some endless path to nowhere. I mentioned the sound, but they hadn't heard anything and had no idea how the fire had been extinguished, as it was still burning strong when they had left. I told them about what I had just experienced, and Alex's facial expressions turned to one of terror. He told me of the Native Americans in the area had described seeing such creatures for generations, and that they often carried with them a sense of dread. We headed to camp and noticed that all of our watches had stopped running, and so we had no idea of the time frame in which these events occurred. Needless to say, at this point we didn't sleep a wink that night, but the rest of the evening was uneventful. We left hastily at dawn. For years I had wondered what these creatures were and why they felt the need to show up at our camp. All I had was this tale of Native American legend and the fear that stayed with me since that night. It seemed now that there's video evidence of these creatures venturing outside of the forest and into built-up areas. I can't help but wonder what it is that is drawing them closer to humankind and just what it is that they may be planning. In the meantime, we may never know. Alright. Very nice. Let's see. Today is my birthday also. Awesome, Dominic. That's really cool. Original Asherella? Evening. Anthony Torres, happy birthday. Thank you. I'm going to go to sleep now. See you, folks. Thank you for dropping in. I appreciate that. Alright, let's get another story. Actually, I'm going to see. I'm kind of hungry. I didn't eat that long ago, though. Yeah. Alright, hopefully you guys are having a great evening. I don't know if Fridays work for you guys or not, but yeah. Alright. Here's another story for you guys. This one's titled The Rake. I love this story. I had to throw it in there, obviously, so. Yeah. Alright, let's see. The Rake. During the summer of 2003, events of northeastern United States involving a strange human-like creature sparked brief local media interest before an apparent blackout was enacted. Little or no information was left intact, as most online and written accounts of the creature were mysteriously destroyed. Primarily focused in rural New York State and once found in Idaho, self-proclaimed witnesses told stories of their encounters with a creature of unknown origin. Emotions ranged from extremely traumatic levels of fright and discomfort to an almost childlike sense of playfulness and curiosity. While their published versions are no longer on record, the memories remain powerful. Several of the involved parties began looking for the answers that year. In early 2006, the collaboration had accumulated nearly 24 documents dating between the 12th century and present day, spanning 4 continents. In almost all cases, the stories were identical. I've been in contact with a member of this group and was able to get some excerpts from their upcoming book. A Suicide Note from 1964. As I prepare to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage any guilt or pain I have introduced to this act. It is not the fault of anyone other than him. For once I woke and felt his presence, and once I awoke and saw his form. Once again I awoke and heard his voice, and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what might next wake to experience. I cannot ever wake. Goodbye. Found in the same wooden box were 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose, and 1 loose personal letter with no envelope. Dearest Linny, I prayed for you. He spoke your name. A journal entry translated from Spanish, 1880. I have experienced the greatest terror. I have seen his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand. I will not sleep. His voice. A mariner's log, 1691. It came to me in my sleep. From the foot of my bed I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again for the request of the Rake. From a witness in 2006. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July. We were all very exhausted after a long day of driving, so my husband and I put the kids right to bed and called it a night. At about 4 a.m., I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom. I used the moment to steal back the sheets, only to wake him in the process. I apologized, and I told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed, so quickly his knees almost knocked me out of bed. He then grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for half a second, I was able to see what caused this strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man, or a large hairless dog of some sort. Its body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I was not instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed and then quickly crawled in a flailing motion, right alongside the bed, until it was less than a foot from my husband's face. The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds, just looking at my husband. The creature then placed his hand on his knee and ran into the hallway, leading to the kids' room. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got into the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned around and looked directly at me, covered in blood. I flipped the switch on and saw my daughter, Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help her daughter. She was very badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "He is the Rake." My husband drove his car into the lake that night while rushing our daughter to the hospital. They did not survive. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town over who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now refer to as the Rake. It took the four of us about 2 solid years of hunting on the internet and writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believed to be accounts of the Rake. None of them gave any detail, history, or follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages, and had never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only that they were told to leave by the Rake. That was the last entry log. There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of a series of visits with the same person. Multiple people mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. This led us to wonder if the Rake had visited any of us before our last encounter. I set up a digital recorder near my bed, and I left it running all night, every night for 2 weeks. I would tediously scan through the sounds of me rolling around in bed each day when I woke up. By the end of the 2nd week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times the normal speed. This still took almost an hour every day. On the first day of the 3rd week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the Rake. I can't stand to listen to it long enough to even begin to describe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and I now believe that it spoke to me when it was sitting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment. The thoughts must have gone through my daughter's head and makes me very upset. I've not seen the Rake since he had ruined my life, but I know that he has been in my room while I slept. I know and fear that one night I'll wake up to him staring right at me. All right. See, Logan, it's got to go. See you guys later. Alright, thanks for stopping in. Don't call the Rake at 3 a.m. challenge gone wrong. That's right. That is correct. That's a pretty hard challenge. I try not to call the Rake, but I end up doing it anyways. It happens. Man. Alright. Let's see here. Let me hop on and see how we're doing here. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the live stream. Hopefully this is a good time for you guys. Alright. Let me get another story. Another Skinwalker one. I think that would be fun. Alright, let's see here. Alright, I think the audio's doing well. Alright, let's see here. I'm glad you guys are doing great. My wife is currently baking me a cake. Alright, let's see. You might hear her in the background, but I don't think so. Alright, let's find another story for you guys. What's the other one I have? Who are you running from? This is the new story I got here. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So I will not have a video coming out this weekend, unfortunately, but this will kind of be in lieu of the video. So yeah. Alright, this one is titled, Who Are You Running From? Should be interesting. After I read the story, I'm going to ask you guys a little bit about what you guys thought of my last video. So, yeah. Alright, this one's titled, Who Are You Running From? No author. The Game Boy camera was seen as a revolutionary piece of technology when it first hit the shelves in 1998. The idea that you could take real pictures with your Game Boy and print them, no less, was unthinkable at the time. Tons of kids rush to the stores to buy the world's smallest digital camera to go with their Game Boy Color, blissfully unaware of what to expect from the game that came with it. The game came with several mini-games aside from the typically simple picture editing software. You could even play Space Invaders type game with your picture as the final boss. The main menu interface included the options Shoot, View, and Play. If the player chose to shoot on the interface, he/she would be greeted by a screen that resembled some sort of strange JRPG. More options would appear on the screen, such as Shoot, Items, Magic, Check, and Run. If the Run option was selected, a strangely distorted face would appear on the screen. The face appears to be doodled on, with fake hair, lips, eyebrows, and eyes, crudely drawn over a male's face. A black star is seen to be imprinted on the face's forehead. The man in the photo seems to be posing with one finger over his mouth, as if telling someone to shush. The picture comes with a caption as well, which reads, "Who are you running from?" In the American version of the game/accessory, 2 other faces can randomly appear throughout the game. One face seems to be of a man, whose face has also been drawn on. He has been given female hair, and a bizarre wave symbol had been drawn over his forehead. The other face was obviously female, with artificial eyes and drawn pigtails. This face had the same wave symbol drawn onto her forehead. These faces were occasionally accompanied by the same eerie inquiry. Who are you running from? The Japanese version of the game had 2 additional faces that would pop up at random intervals while playing. The first face seemed to be a male, with scribbled eyes and an unnerving smile. It is unclear whether or not the hair on his face is real, as the resolution is extremely low. The face also had waves drawn onto its forehead. The final face is seemingly of a man with a drawn scowl, and a cartoonishly long hair. The eyes of this face are also doodled, as well as most of the other features of the face. This face is the only one without a symbol on its forehead, and is also the only face without a devilish, synthetic smile. Another more subtle difference is that this picture seems to have been taken in a different location than all the others. The previous faces all have nothing but a white backdrop, but this one seems to have some sort of object in the background. It is believed that these pictures are results of a kidnapping done by a strange cult. The figure with a black star drawn onto its forehead is said to be the leader of the group, while the others with waves were said to be the disciples. The face without any symbols and the dark scowl is believed to be the unlucky victim. It is unclear what the condition of the victim is in the photograph, or how these pictures managed to be included in the game. The motive of the cult is unclear, as nobody that resembled the victim was ever recovered. Ooh. I had a Game Boy Color when I was young. It was like the purple transparent one. I had like 2 games on it. I had one game called Perfect Dark, and I had another game. I had like the James Bond, The World Is Not Enough game. Those were the 2 games I had on it. But yeah. Peaceful Grotesque, Rake and Cake, absolutely. Enjoy the birthday, man. No need for a video. Can we meet your wife? So I've actually asked my wife to do some female parts before in a story, and she didn't want to do that. I also don't want to bother her. She's making my cake, and I don't want to interrupt the flow of the process. Alright, let's see. But yeah, that was an interesting one. Normally I tell like cryptids, but that was actually quite good. I'm glad I stumbled across that one. It's quite surprising. Yeah, that was pretty chilling. Very much spoopy indeed. Rachel says, happy birthday. Thank you. Alright, let's see here. Let's read another story for you guys. Let's see here. Alright, this one is titled Abduction. Alright, this story is titled Abduction. It has no author, or it's anonymous, I should say. It's about aliens, which I like. It was another normal night. I spent a few hours on my computer, played on my Xbox, and made food. The usual. But it wasn't until later that night that I experienced the most phenomenal thing. I was getting ready for bed. I slipped into my pajamas and tucked myself in. I lay there, resting. Thousands of things floated through my mind. All my thoughts from the day before I came back. All the weird sounds I had been hearing in my head. The static. I was thrown out of the bank the other day for setting off the metal detector, even though I had no metal on me. Or so I thought. I finally began falling asleep, my eyes tight shut and my brain on standby, until a bright white light lit up my room. I slowly opened my eyes, trying to focus on the light reflecting through my window. I had no energy to get up and check. I heard creaks. The next thing I know, I was naked, tightly strapped onto a very uncomfortable metal bed of some sort. I couldn't move. Two shadows lay before me. My eyes couldn't focus on the bright light that shone down upon my face. I couldn't speak. My voice was gone. I tried screaming, shouting, but nothing came out. I felt a small needle pierce through my skin of my arm. Something was ejected. I tried to escape, but whatever it was restraining me. It held me down with all its might. The light turned down, and I could finally open my eyes. In front of me was the ugliest creature I had ever seen. It was green, slimy with massive black eyes beating down to mine. It had a large head. There were 3 of them. Behind them was a window, and I could see clouds. I saw 4 fingers coming towards my face. 2 were placed on my eyes where they were gently shut. I woke up again, only this time I was back in my room. Was it all a dream? Was I really abducted by aliens? Psst, no, of course not. Aliens aren't real. I hopped out of my bed, still woozy from the dream, and I fell flat on my face with agony. I couldn't walk. I looked at my foot, and it was all bruised. Along the soles of my foot were purple and blue mysterious bruising. Had I hit my foot off on my wall during my sleep? Maybe, until I noticed the red mark on my arm, the same place where the needle was inserted in my dream. It hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't a dream. It happened. I was abducted. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. I often think about aliens. I think about them and I don't know, I just think they're interesting. Like that concept. Just in terms of like a mathematical probability standpoint, like it's inevitable, I feel like, to have other life out there. And it's also interesting that all these different accounts kind of have a similar depiction of what they look like. I don't know. It's kind of hard. While I got you guys here, who are some other narrators you guys would like to see on the 13 nights of live streams? I've got a bunch coming on, but I want to, if we can come up with some more ideas, I can try to get them on before it starts. Not this coming week, but next week. So I think that'd be cool. Let me check the Twitter. All right. here's another story for us. How long is this one? I think that this one's... Oh, it's not too long. Not long at all. This one is titled Some Curiosities Regarding Certain Images. This one is found on Creepypasta Wiki. It is an anonymous story. So yeah. Here we go. There was a story by H.P. Lovecraft, written in 1926, called Pickman's Model, about a painter who creates images so disturbing that they cause him to be banned from galleries. At one point, the protagonist visits the painter's abandoned studio and sees a nausea-inducing painting of a dog. Lovecraft wrote, "It was a colossal and nameless blasphemy, with glaring red eyes, and held in bony claws a thing that had been a man, gnawing at the head as a child nibbles at a stick of candy. Its position was kind of crouched, and as one looked, one felt that they might at any moment drop it in its present prey and seek a juicier morsel. But dang it all, it wasn't even the fiendish subject that made it such an immortal fountainhead of an all panic. Not that, nor the dog face with its pointed ears, bloodshot eyes, flattened nose, and drooling lips. It wasn't the scaly claws, nor the mold-cake body, nor the half-hoofed feet. None of these, though any of them, might well have driven an excitable man into madness. It was the technique. Eliot, the cursed, the impious, the unnatural technique. As I am a living being, I never elsewhere saw the actual breath of life so infused into a canvas. The monster was there. It glared and gnawed and glared. And I knew that only a superstition of nature's laws could ever let a man paint a thing like that without a model, without some glimpse of the netherworld which no mortal unsouled to the fiend has ever held. The protagonist later finds a reference photograph that the artist used, writing, well, that paper wasn't a photograph of any background after all. What it showed was the monstrous being he was painting on the awful canvas. It was the model he was using, and its background was merely the wall of a cellar studio, a minute detail. But by God, Eliot, it was a photograph from life. Lovecraft claimed the story was fiction, but I have been struck by the curious recent explosion of similar images on the internet, often referred to as smile_dog, or simply smile. The name probably doesn't matter. That evoke a frightful response from the viewer, and are even rumored to have driven some insane, and that can haunt its subjects until they spread the word of the image around. What would cause such a phenomenon? I think the answer lies in the nature of images. There was a study performed a few years ago by Roger Tootle, where a monkey was injected with dye, subjected to images, and sacrificed so that we could view what was occurring to it in its brain. Sure enough, what the monkey had been looking at actually could be seen using the dye in distorted form upon the brain visual cortex and grids, showing that images do not simply imprint themselves upon the mind. Through neurological activity, they can be a part of the brain itself. Of course, certain images impress themselves longer and more deeply upon the brain than others. We might say that they are better able to haunt us. If I were to show you a simple picture of a bumblebee, it probably would not remain upon your brain for long. Other images, perhaps especially certain more disturbing ones, are going to remain there longer, even indefinitely. And this is where my crucial point is. Your brain is constantly updating itself through neurological plasticity to keep yourself grounded in your environment. But it's now clear that certain images are able to update themselves as well as in our brains. They are seen impress themselves upon the brain and haunt the brain so intensely, sometimes through dreams and even through sleep paralysis, as to create a new, more powerful version. With the advent of the internet, These pictures are able to update and transfer themselves from one person to another through imagery and imagination to reach new, more powerful heights of haunting. But for what purpose do these images spread their infection? And what happens when all of these images are assembled in one place? I believe that, at one point, there was an original image, perhaps even known by Lovecraft himself, that somehow got lost to time. This original image was so terrible that echoes of it carry forward to this day, ricocheting from person to person in new and more terrible forms, some having experienced the fear that even the loveliest of images can evoke, and the resulting nightly hauntings that follow. I pray that we might not ever reach the collection remembrance of the lost original image itself, and I pity any person who allows too many of these pictures to become a part of their brain. But my story is not helpful in this regard. In my foolish boredom and procrastination, I have seen the images myself, and I am finally giving in to my own nightly experiences. I am too weary and shaken to repeat them now. For the hope that I can reclaim at least some of my previously ignorant peace, looking at these images, heed the visions, assemble them all in one place, and let the progress continue. Like Lovecraft, I am no artist, so I can only spread the word. That was interesting. Isolated Alien, yo! How are you? Hopefully you guys liked that one. Imagine getting someone like Mr. Nightmare or Corpse Husband on Livestream. That would be intense. First of all, I don't think I have the means to get a hold of someone like that. I am getting Corpse Husband. He's not nearly as big, but he's still... Or not, Mortis Media. I'm getting a hold of him. He's not as big, but it's a pretty big channel. It's about 10 times my size. But yeah. I'm gonna even check... I don't even think I can check on here. Let me see. Let me see if, what do you call it? I can even, I don't even think that, like, I can get a hold of them. Alright, let me see if I can get a hold of Corpse. I don't think he even does, yeah, I can't. Oh, wait. Hey. Alright, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I doubt he's gonna respond. I just said, hey Corpse, would you be down to come on a horror live stream with me? I don't know. Hopefully. Alright, who's the other one? Let me see if, wow, yeah, his, I wanted to get What Lurks Beneath on a live stream, but it looks like he does, looks like his, what do you call it, are closed. His, DMs, if you will. Yeah. Alright, let's see if I can find another, who else should I reach out to? Who else are you guys suggesting? Let's see, Mr. Nightmare. Oh yeah, let me see if he's got a Twitter. Does he have a Twitter? I feel like everyone has a Twitter. Let me see. Mr. Nightmare. Let's give it a shot. Oh. gonna shoot my shot with him also. Sent him a DM. We will see. Let's see. Alright, so I sent 2 of those, but yeah, that'd be interesting. I'm actually talking to Dark Salmonum. He and I are actually looking to get something squared away. I think we're just looking... I think his schedule is a little bit... he's got a busier schedule. And so he's looking for an opening. But yeah, I am actually talking to Dark Salmonum. But yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's see. Hi, question. Have you thought of putting your stories on Spotify? I have. I just, I haven't been able to start that yet. I need to. I really do. I feel like Mr. Ballin would be great, but, it would be hard to get a hold of him. Yeah, let me see if he's on here. Let me see if I can get a hold of him on here. Mr. Ballin. Ballin. How do I even spell that? Is it B-E-N? Yeah, let's see if I can get a hold of him. Mr. Ballin. Okay. Alright, let's see if I can get a hold of him. Alright, so it looks like his DMs are open. Let me send him a text. Hey, Mr. Ballin, I'm hosting 13 nights of live streams, and would love to have you on. Live stream. That'd be amazing. Let me know if that works. Interested. Thank you. Alright, so send him a message. Mr. Ballin. If I had Mr. Ballin on my channel, I would probably just explode. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know how that would work. I don't really know. Alright. Man, I am not a fan of Twitter. Okay. Let's see. Who else could I see? Fear Tales. Let's see. See, Dr. No Sleep. Let me see if he's on Twitter. Dr. No Sleep. I think this is who this is. I could be wrong. Is this is that Dr. No Sleep? I can't tell. Doesn't look like a Dr. No Sleep to me. Let's see, this looks like a Dr. No Sleep. No, that's not him either. Man, who's Dr. No Sleep? I'm trying to think who that is. Let me see if I can find them. That would be awesome. Dr. No Sleep. Who's Dr. No Sleep? Alright, Dr. I probably know who this is. Oh, I actually don't follow them. Let's see. How can I get a hold of them? Okay, I'm not a robot. Business at Dr. No Sleep. Interesting. Alright, I will send him an email right now. Hey, Doctor. Doctor, no sleep. Is anyone a doctor? I am. Alright, let's see. Yo, it's your boy. That's how I'm gonna write him. I'm gonna be like, yo, hey, Doctor, no sleep. It's your boy. It's your boy. Okay, got it. Alright, let's see. Alright. Let's send him an email. To Dr. No Sleep. Paste. There we go. Hey. I'm hosting 13 nights of live streams. I would love to have you on. Let me know you are interested in doing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, your boy. It's your boy. Alright. Nope, not one night. It's 13 nights. There we go. Live stream? Live stream? I'm just gonna question. Live stream? Question mark? Live stream with your boy? No. Let's try. Alright. Alright, I'm shooting my shot. Let's see here. Fear Tales. Who's Fear Tales? Let me look who that is. Fear Tales. Fear Tales. Fear Tales. Okay, here we go. Oh, they're, oh yeah, he has a cool channel. His DMs are not open. I will send him an email, though. Send him an email. TheFearTales@gmail. Okay. I will send that right now. Hey, Fear Tales, it's your boy. Please respond. Hey, I am hosting. Let's see. Hosting 13 nights. 4 live streams, and would love to have you on. Let me know if this would work. Thanks. Okay, alright, let's see. Who else are we suggesting? Lighthouse Horror. Oh, I freaking love Lighthouse Horror, of course. Is he on Twitter? I think he is. Lighthouse Horror. I'm pretty sure he's on Twitter. I'm pretty sure. What? He was on Twitter at one time. Alright, yeah, no. Lighthouse is my boy. I love Lighthouse. I know he's also busy, but let me send him, I'm gonna send him an email though. I've been talking to him for a minute about different things, but it's been a while. I don't know if he remembers me, but it's your boy. Let's see. Nights of Horror live streams. Love to have you on. Let's see, let me know if this would work. Let me know if this would work. Thank you. Alright. Alright. Before I read another story, let's talk about horror movies. I need to take a break from reading. Just a brief break. I've been reading for about 2 hours. A little breaky poo, you know what I'm saying? Let's see. Alright. Yeah, Lighthouse Horror. Once you make tomato cold, it never leaves. Oh no. I've been playing Sea of Thieves recently, and if you'd like to play with me sometimes, it's a pirate game. I've actually never played Sea of Thieves before, but it sounds interesting. Yeah, I'd be down to play. Man, so many birthday people. So many people in October got birthdays. You, me, my 2 friends. Nice. Yeah. Happy birthday. Thank you, Dion. Appreciate that. Owen Vlogs. Happy birthday. Another mouse. Thank you. Went to a powwow dance last week. Interesting. Hopefully that went well. Maybe T6 Archives. Yeah, he's more known for green text, but he's pretty good. I actually did a collab with T6 a while ago, and he was supposed to send me some stories, and he didn't. So he owes me. That guy owes me. He owes me a collab. Yeah, let me see where he's at. Where's my boy T6? Where you at, bud? I know he like canceled his channel and then he brought it back, so I don't know. Like, what's he doing? Like, what's going on, buddy? What are we doing? What is we doing? Let's see, T6. Am I thinking of a different channel? I don't know. I'm so confused. I'm in a very confused point in my life where nothing makes sense. Let's see, T6. T6. No, I don't want to see that. I guess that's like a type of plane or something. What am I... who is it? I'm pretty sure it's T6. That's who I'm thinking of. Like, that's... T6 Archives. This is Archives. T6. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the same guy I'm thinking of. Yeah. I'm sending him. Yeah. Oh, he changed his name. That's what it is. Archives. Is he on Twitter? Are you on here, buddy? I don't think he is. I thought he was on... No, he's definitely on Twitter. 100%. Because he always posts funny things. I think he's under Maverick Files. Yeah, he's under Maverick Files. That's right. I'm going to send him a message. Hey, man. You down for a live stream? Stream in a few weeks. Alright, I sent him one also. Alright. Let's see, what horror stories you guys got for me? Yeah, Maverick Files, that's right. Let's see. Also, happy birthday, mate. I give tomato cake. That sounds awful. It doesn't taste like tomato. Okay, as long as it doesn't taste like tomato, we're good. Cool. He's also known by Maverick Files now. That's right, yeah. Yeah, he does owe me a collab. That's okay, though. If he doesn't, that's fine. I get it. He's a busy guy. He's a busy dude. But yeah, he did a lot of green tech stuff back in the day. I guess he got demonetized or something, but that's too bad. That sucks. Hopefully, hopefully he got that figured out. But I know he's got I think he's got 3 other channels or something. I don't know. I just work here. Alright. Let's see. What kind of horror movies you guys got for me? What's a good, what are some good horror movies? Banshee says, I added enough to leave it as a cliffhanger so that the ending is secret. I think you'll like it. Let me read it really quick. Let me glance over it. Let me take a quick look here. Okay, I'm going to exit this. Got 9 different browsers open. I don't need all of them open. Okay. What's going on here? Where am I? Okay. Let's see over here. Alright. It's not Gmail. What stories you got? What are we looking at? What are we doing here? Okay. What? Okay, here we go. I found it. Huh. I'll have to read it later and, yeah, give it a read. Nice, cool. Let's see. Someone just commented a very interesting story. Oh, wow. Alright, let's see. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to read it really quick. So Metalhead Vibes just posted a story on one of my videos, so I'm going to read it really quick. Let me post it here, though. Let's see. Okay. Alright, I'm going to go all the way down. Alright, let's read another story. Okay. So Metalhead Vibes, I love it. I love when people post stories in the comments because they're so interesting. So this is what he posted 51 minutes ago on one of my videos. I'm going to share with you a very chilling story from over 8 years ago, just because I can and your channel made me want to put it there. I'm not sure if what I saw was a fleshgate or a skinwalker, but I do know what I saw was terrifying. Back in 2008, I was 6 at the time. I lived in Arizona and my parents wanted to head up to the Pine Top for the weekend. It was like a treat of some sort if we behaved well. We had all our things packed and we were ready to go, so we headed off. I dozed off on the way there, and as any 6-year-old would, and woke up around 9:30 p.m. I remember this because the bright red digital clock on my dad's dingy car burned itself into my retinas. My dad was the one driving, and my brother and mom were sleeping. My dad didn't know I was awake, so I stayed quiet. I groggily peered out into the distance, and we were surrounded by nothing but forest. I'd say around 6 minutes later, I was hit with this awful smell. We were the only ones on the road, so it wasn't like there was any other car that could have caused the bad smell. Then again, how the heck would a car emit a horrible smell as this one? I remember the smell all too well. It reeked of rotting meat, like if death was a smell, this would be the smell. I scrunched my nose, disgusted, and squinted my eyes. I also remember this feeling of absolute dread, a feeling I've never felt before. That's when I saw it. I only caught a quick glimpse as we drove by, but I know that this thing was not normal. Into the forest, I saw a creature like no other. The limbs were distorted. It looked like they'd been broken. The skin looked as if it was rotting. There was no fur. It had human-like and animal-like features, but the most predominant one was its antlers and glowing green eyes. I think my dad saw it too, because I heard a slight gasp from the front seat and felt a very slight swerve before he continued driving normally. To this day, I think my dad was the only one who thinks he saw it, but what I do know is I will never be going out alone near the woods at night, nor will I ever be going camping. Now in a different situation, this all could just be a memory and the fact I was 6 and seeing the world differently from others. But I know dang well what I saw that night was real, and I know that it was evil. Oh, that was really good. I actually really like that. I think what makes it interesting, number one, is that it's true, but also that 2 people saw it. I think that's interesting. Huh. Let's see. Chills. You should read some stories from the Share Your Story Discord. Yeah, I should. Let's see what we got. What do we got on there? Alright, let's see. Let me pull up my Discord. Oh, dang it. It's going to make me log in. I'm not logged in on my computer. Dang it. Darn. Alright. Let's see. I have some story ideas. Where would I submit them? You can submit them. We have story ideas in the Discord you could send. You also have Share Your Stories, things like that in there. If you really felt prompted to, you could email them to me. You could do that. Either way, let me pull up my phone here. Scan a QR code. Let's see what else I got going on here. I could just pull it up on my phone. Alright, let's see. Story suggestions. Share your stories. Okay. I'm going to read yours, Ash Souls, while I got you here. So this is a true story. It says Ash Souls. My friend, let's call her Amy, told me yesterday that she was trying to dye her hair the other day while on FaceTime with another friend. Amy was going to bleach her hair, and you would need to mix a bag of baking soda with it. She didn't have baking soda, so she used vinegar. Now, apparently that makes a potentially lethal chlorine gas that can kill you. And if Amy was on the call with that friend, she could have died because her friend was the one that pointed out the gas. Not to mention, Amy said that she was feeling kind of dizzy. Anyways, she's okay now, so don't worry about that. Oh, that is interesting. I hope your friend's okay. Let's see here. Oh, wow, that's a long one. I don't know if I can read the long ones. Let's see. Got a couple poems in there. That's interesting. Alright, I have another one I found online. This one is called Clown in the Woods. I think that sounds right up our alley. Sounds quite scary. So let's give it a read. No author on this one, and it is posted on the Creepypasta wiki. My one memory of that one fateful day. Where should we play? The park? Asked Ben. Ben was my cousin, and my sister Olivia was also with us. She loved playing with dolls, especially her new collection of Dream Mermaid dolls. Of course, this wasn't suitable for all of us, so we had to meet each other halfway, so we all decided to go to the park. There was a park in walking distance, which had some play equipment and whatnot, as well as a soccer field. Of course, as well as playing on the irregular equipment, swings, slides, rock climbing, we also played tag nearby. It was actually quite fun. And I could tell from Olivia's smile and Ben's giggling that we were all sharing the same happy feeling. Not far from where we were playing, there was a small area with some dirt trails for hiking and joggers to go walk or run along, and thick trees and foliage, which could be described as a mini forest on either side of them. Of course, Ben and Olivia and I had no intention of going in, seeing as there was nothing to play in there, as well as the numerous reporting sightings of foxes. We all decided to play soccer on a field that was adjacent to the playground, with all the equipment. We spent about 2 hours having fun playing soccer and had many games that were 2-on-1. I'm happy to say that we all got our share of wins and losses, and we all had fun, but it took one of Ben's double whopper kicks to send the ball hurtling through the air and through the trees of the forest. Fortunately, due to the forest's hilly geography, the ball rolled down and disappeared into the trees. Of course, this meant I had to go and fetch the ball, but despite my feelings, I bravely ventured in. Ben and Olivia trailed along for fun, but there's something about those woods that unsettled me. It was just the fact that those forests were dead quiet, despite being near some fairly popular sporting facilities. The contrast between the quiet forest and the playground and soccer field was uncanny. Not before long, the sight of the jogging trails disappeared through the forest, and I began to get a little uncomfortable. Maybe it was the way the trees were twisting in odd, distorted patterns. Olivia began hugging my leg with fear, and Ben's face got the unmistakable look of being uncomfortable, and also huddled up close to me for comfort. We all sighted the ball, and I quickly ran over to retrieve it. It was in a small ditch, but I managed to get it out with little effort. Ben and Olivia had already begun walking away, and I immediately followed to make sure that they stayed out of trouble. But it wasn't until about 3 minutes later that I realized that they had been walking the wrong way. Approaching the ditch and retrieving the ball had made me lose my sense of direction. I began pointing them in the right direction, but then Olivia said in her small voice, "Josh, I think I saw someone." I could tell from her voice that she was scared, and I just sighed lovingly. I told her that people often came through here for hiking, but Olivia said that he had a white face and a red nose, much like a clown. Then Ben randomly screamed at an ear-piercing volume, and I was beginning to get worried. Naturally, I decided that we would all leave immediately. As we began to walk out, a man dressed in a clown mask with striking red hair emerged from behind a tree. He had a cheap-looking black jacket on, accompanied with some tacky pants, accompanied by pale gloves. At this moment, we were paralyzed with fear, but when I snapped out of it, I snapped a photo of him for evidence, which is shown above. We didn't even need to tell each other to run. Our legs just made the move for us. We all sprinted like we were Olympics. We were all in the Olympics. I felt hopeless that we were in such a secluded area. After a couple of minutes, the bounding of our feet behind us had stopped, and we turned around and greeted by the relieving absence of the clown. Olivia was crying at this point, and Ben had just had a look of worry on his face. After I calmed them both down, I told them that we would slowly sneak through the trees, and that all the three of us would keep an eye out. And so we did. But about halfway back, we heard crazy laughter behind us, and the clown was chasing us again. We all resumed our frantic dash, and we finally reached the clearing. The clown had once again retreated back into the thick foliage. I told my dad the story and showed him the photo. We called the police, but by the time they had got there, they said they had found no trace of the clown, except for one of the gloves we had seen on him. But soon after, they made a terrifying discovery. Apparently, the clown abducted and killed children that wandered into the woods alone. He would then sneak out and steal some kids from the playground itself, before returning to the forest, killing them. The police had assumed from the bones and corpses that they discovered that all the police had to say was that they were lucky not to be caught. They were all lucky to not be caught and become part of the clown's newest collection of children. Alright. Have you any goat stories? Great question. I do. Love the live stream. Can't believe I haven't caught one. Love the live stream. Can't believe I haven't caught one yet. Nice. Yeah, this is a long one. I don't know how long I'll stream for tonight, but I'm having fun. My throat's starting to. Yeah, my throat's starting to get a little sore. Alright, let's see. Let me adjust this here. Alright. I don't know how long this one is. Did I get a notification? Let's see here. Alright, let's see. Oh, I'm still in there, that's why. Alright. What is this guy up to? Alright, let's see here. I could read that one. That one's quite long, though. I could do the I Sold My Goat Man one. That's 13 pages. So long. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Let's see. Alright. Alright, I'll read this one. This one will be fun. I Sold My Soul to the Goat Man. Written by Banshee. And me, I guess. Nothing speaks more of an adventure, at least to me, than that of the unknown. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I do whatever I can to always live life on the edge. You only get one life, right? Anyways, a couple of years ago, a few buddies of mine came across the trend of geocaching. For those of you that don't know what it is, it's essentially where you place a small item, typically a trinket of some kind, and give out coordinates to the item's location. My like-minded friends and I started doing this a couple of years ago, but we added a twist to this activity. We only geocached. At night. This obviously made it more dangerous. Most coordinates that we are given are either out in remote areas of the town or on nature trails out in the middle of the woods. Being in either setting in the middle of the night is obviously not ideal. One night I came across the coordinates online of what appeared to be located in an abandoned subway station that was no longer accessible to the public. I asked my friends if anyone would be willing to take on this challenge with me, but it was too late. It was too late notice for them, which was fair. Typically, when you post coordinates online, you leave a hint of how to find the trinket, or what it might possibly be. The hint given to these coordinates was the text, "What is the price for a soul?" Interesting. If the idea looking in an abandoned subway station late at night wasn't scary enough, the description was certainly cryptic at best. I packed my things for the geocache, which included my backpack, a heavy mag light with new batteries, and my pistol. I arrived in the bad part of town in the late hours of the night. There were some random people still about for the most part, but the town was quiet. I approached the boarded-up entrance to the subway and checked around to see if anyone was watching. It didn't take long to see that one of the boards had been removed and placed in front of one of the doors, appearing to still be nailed in place, but wasn't. Someone clearly moved it some time ago. I pulled out my flashlight and began my descent down the subway stairs. Surprisingly enough, there were still emergency lights guiding my path downwards that still gave off a green luminescent glow, much like the ones you see in an exit sign or a smoke detector. It wasn't much light, but it was enough to guide me to where I needed to go, much like the ones you see. Oh, I already said that. Before I got to the bottom of the stairs and to the main area for the subway, I began to hear what sounded like an eerie groaning coming from the darkness below. The emergency light stopped at the base of the stairs. The subway area was only illuminated by my flashlight that I had bought. I checked my phone for the exact coordinates for where the geocache was, and of course it told me to venture deeper into the darkness of the subway. I hesitated. I was alone in the dark. If someone were to happen to be down here with me, there was a good chance my body wouldn't ever be found. I could just come back later when it was daytime. Wait, no, that wouldn't work. It would still be dark, since it was underground. How cool would it be, though, to find this geocache all by myself? It would be the ultimate trophy to show my fearlessness. I decided to keep pushing forward and looked at my phone to see if I was getting closer. Of course, my Wi-Fi began to go out the further I went underground. Soon enough, my phone was no longer connected to the internet, and I had to guess where I needed to go. I could hear the groaning even more now. I could tell that it was coming from a source that was no longer disrupted by obstacles, meaning it was probably in the same area as I was. I heard a shuffle coming from behind me and instinctively turned my flashlight off. I pulled my pistol out for a good measure. I could see a faint green glow again coming from inside the tunnel itself, the same area where I was being led by my phone before I lost the internet. The glow became my guide, and I quietly went into the tunnel, hoping to stumble across something that would look like a geocache. I walked for about 5 minutes until I could no longer hear the groaning behind me. I figured this was enough space for me to turn my light back on, so I did. I shined my flashlight around, and I caught a figure standing in the middle of the tracks in front of me. I gripped my pistol and stared at the figure before realizing that it gave off a familiar pale look of a mannequin. I was about to turn around, as this was probably the creepiest thing I'd ever seen, when I noticed the mannequin was holding something. It didn't even register to me that it was the geocache until I walked over to it and picked it up. The mannequin was holding an old leathery book that looked rough and worn. The leather on the book was cracked and faded in a brownish yellow. On the cover was a symbol I was not familiar with, but when I opened the book, I saw it was titled, "The Price for a Soul." This was it. This was the geocache. I just found it. Before I read anything else in the book, I swiftly put the book in my bag and took off back towards the entrance. I followed the green lights again, and sure enough, I made it back to the stairs. I didn't bother turning off my light this time since I was literally running out, and I still had my pistol drawn. No one was going to mess with me. I made it back to the surface and went back to my car. I turned it on, but rather driving back to my house right then and there, I pulled the book out of my bag and began reading. The Price for a Soul was the title, and it didn't take long for me to realize that this book was about a ritual that someone could perform in order to sell one's soul for anything. Hypothetically, if I were to sell my soul, it would be for money. A couple million, obviously, but just like most things, I didn't believe in souls and I didn't believe in rituals. Just to humor my curiosity, I looked at the conditions to perform the ritual, and it required only for me to verbally say that I was selling my soul to a particular entity for whatever amount, and I would then have to seal the contract by killing someone. Wow, this was crazy. Whatever, it was a cool find, but nothing more. I put the book back in my bag and I started driving back. I drove back home that night and I placed the book on my night table. I placed the book on the table in the kitchen and went to bed. I don't normally dream, but that night was different. I was in a dark field where there appeared to be an entity with its back turned towards me. I couldn't see it very well despite not being that far away, as if it was in a fog or underwater. It spoke softly. "I could give you anything, you know," it said. I was then shown myself living this amazing life that I'd always dreamed of. Before I could really enjoy anything, it spoke again. "You don't even believe in souls. What do you have to lose?" The entity had a good point. Nonetheless, I would be killing someone. Before I could think more about it, I was then jolted awake. It was still early in the morning, about 5 or so. Next to me in bed was the geocache I had recovered a few hours ago. The old leather book. The dream and the book being next to me seemed to have really messed with my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I began thinking about that life I saw and how easy it would be for me to get away with killing someone. I could even go back to that tunnel I was in earlier and find some poor soul and dispose of them in there. No one would ever be able to catch me that way. Ever since I'd gotten the book, my mind seemed to slowly warp into this fantasy of selling my soul. It would be easy, I thought. I spent the whole day absolutely fixated on this idea. I could be rich tomorrow. My day slowly dragged as things just got in my way. I felt this urge to fulfill this ritual and become what I felt I meant to have in my life. When I got home from work, I found the book and read it cover to cover. It only took me about an hour or so, but it was an amazing read. Each page was more interesting than the one prior. On the last page, under conditions, there appeared to be a piece of the page. The part that I could read was about how to break the time loop if I broke the conditions to the ritual. I didn't know what that meant, so I kept reading. What I really got from what I was doing was I was about to sell my soul, and the only condition was that I was not allowed to kill anyone after I had sold my soul. This was obviously something that wouldn't be an issue for me since I was not a serial killer. It said if I killed someone after the ritual, then I'd be put in a time loop and killed for all eternity. Or until the time loop was broken. Okay, whatever. I decided I could go back to the tunnel and find an unsuspecting victim in there I could use as a sacrifice. I would have my gun with me, but I probably would want to use a knife so it wouldn't be so loud. I would go back in the subway in the cover like I did last time. I went back later that night in the same area. I brought the book with me just in case I forgot anything. I made sure to bring my flashlight and pistol like I did before, but I also brought a large kitchen knife that was unsheathed. I read over and over in the book about the ritual to make sure I wasn't missing anything. It seemed very straightforward and too good to be true, but I felt this crazy urge to at least try it. I pried the same board back I did the night before and entered into the subway station. It seemed much darker this time, although nothing really changed. Instead of hopefully avoiding people like I did last time, I was actually hoping to find a single person, all alone. I have seen countless movies where people are killed quickly and quietly, but I have no idea what to expect. I reached the bottom of the stairs and I heard the same moaning from the night before. I slowly made my way over to the noise. It didn't take me long to find the source, and sure enough, it was an old man laying in a small camp he had made with some tarps. I drew out my knife, and before I went over to kill him, an entity appeared before me. It took the appearance of some goat-like creature, but I'm fairly certain it was the same being in my dreams. Are you offering this life and your soul to me? I found it hard to breathe, but I managed to get out a yes. What is your price for a soul? The creature asked. This was a good question. I didn't actually think about it beforehand. What is a good price for my soul? I then just came up with the first number that came in my mind, and I told the entity, $10 million, to which it nodded and faded away. I then knew that what I was doing was serious. I walked over to the man, and he saw my knife and tried to get up. He was slow and very weak, making my sacrifice very easy. I didn't enjoy it, so I'll spare you the details, but I made sure that I was going to get my $10 million. Once I finished killing the man, I looked up to see that someone had walked out of one of the tarps. I drew my pistol and aimed it at the person, but then I remembered my contract. I panicked and ran away with the book, but left the knife there, out of desperation. My plans of making a clean kill were now out the window. Not only did I leave a witness, but I also left a murder weapon. Great. I made every rookie mistake out there. I was probably going to get caught. I ran out there and out to my car. Other than the other person there, I don't think anyone else saw me. I sped most of the way home, but eventually calmed down. Once I returned home, the nightmare scenario was practically behind me. I then realized that I had no idea how I was going to receive this money I just sold my soul for. I sat up that night thinking about what had just happened. That's when I got a knock on my door. I checked the time to see that it was about 3 in the morning, so I grabbed my pistol and I went over to the door. I was half expecting to see the police when I peeked out the side window, but rather I only saw a black duffel bag. I immediately knew what it was, without even looking in the bag. I opened the door, grabbed the heavy bag, and closed the door. Inside were stacks of $100 bills. My excitement had exceeded anything I'd ever experienced in my life. I then realized I had to find a way to explain this money to my bank and other people. I had to do this in order to throw off suspicion. The next day, the first thing I did was call into work and obviously quit. I had no need for money anymore, since I was now rich. This obviously made a lot of people upset, but it was not my problem anymore. I went to the bank and opened half a dozen bank accounts and put in a few million into each. I sold my old car and purchased something nice, but not too flashy to draw people's attention. I bought a new Lexus and some new clothes. I barely even made a dent in the money I just acquired. I began looking at homes, and sure enough, I found something to my liking. I sold my lease to my apartment and moved out a week later. My life had improved so much after that. With all the extra time I had from not having to work, I was finally able to actually do what I wanted to do with my life, and that was to run a business. My old life of being poor and scrounging for money was over. I was able to enjoy life at a completely different level. A few years later, I finally had a somewhat successful business and was making a good amount of money. I was coming home late one night after celebrating signing a large account for our business when something changed. I had a little to drink that night, but I wasn't drunk. The next thing I know, a car driving on the oncoming lane comes into mine. I then wake up in a hospital bed. A nurse and what looks like a policeman comes in and checks in on me. The policeman informs me that I had just encountered a head-on collision with a drunk driver and received a concussion. The other driver was in critical condition and wasn't looking to last through the night. My only concern was to get better and to get back to my life. The next day I was released from the hospital, and I went home to sleep off this terrible headache I had. I woke up later that evening to a phone call from the police. It was the same officer that was in my hospital room, and he told me that the drunk driver that had hit me had succumbed to his injuries and was now no longer alive. It then hit me like a ton of bricks what had just happened. I didn't say anything, and just hung up the phone. The next thing I knew, I was passed out in bed. I had a vivid vision of this entity I sold my soul to. He only said one thing, but it shook me to the core. The contract is broken. When I awoke, the time displayed on my alarm clock was 2:47 a.m. I went to roll over, but then I heard what sounded like someone breaking glass downstairs. I slowly got up, grabbing a flashlight and a knife off my bedside table. Sliding off my bed, I put my feet down carefully and began walking, avoiding creaking spots on the floor as to make less noise. I was about halfway down the hallway when I heard a sharp sound of hooves on tile. My heart stopped. The only place in my house where I had tile was at the base of the stairs. The very stairs I stood 15 feet away from. I sidestepped into my bathroom, closing the door softly. All the while, the thumping sound was slowly making its way up the stairs. I could now hear heavy breathing. The footsteps had passed the bathroom and now sounded like they were in my bedroom. Not wasting any time, I slowly opened the bathroom door and began to walk down the stairs where there were massive marks in the stairs, shaped as if they were goat prints. I heard an inhuman screech from upstairs before I started to hear the sound of shredding fabric. When I reached the base of the stairs, there was a sudden pain in my foot. I looked down to see all the glass all over the floor. I let out a small squeak of pain. Suddenly, all the sounds from upstairs stopped. A low double-toned growl began. I skirted my way along the edge of broken glass before making my way to the kitchen. There, I grabbed a dish towel and began wrapping my foot with it, as I heard that crash come down the stairs. I crouched down before crawling under the center island of my kitchen, scooting against a patch of exposed wall, holding my breath, as I saw two very thick furry legs ending in hooves of a goat. There was a low, double-tone rasp before the thing spoke in a broken, sadistic voice. "I smell you." I let out a sharp intake of breath. The creature froze before chuckling. It began to lean down. I could now smell its breath. It was rancid, like spoiled meat mixed with the strong odor of sulfur. I now could see one yellow glowing orb. Grabbing my knife, I stabbed it directly in the creature's eye, as this creature let out a horrific scream. I slid out from under the island and tried to run before I felt a sharp pain in my foot. I began limping towards the garage, grabbing the keys off the wall. I heard something shattering glass as things in the kitchen got knocked over, before I heard a raging screech from the beginning of the hallway, directly behind me. I got to the door, slamming it shut and locking it with the key on my keychain. Before a large bang was heard from the door, I looked back to see the metal bending. I unlocked my car and hit the garage door opener. I could now hear violent scratching at the door. I made way into the car, starting it and pulling out as the creature broke through the door and slammed into the wall on the other side of the garage. Its remaining eye had shifted from a yellow to a burning red. I could now see that this creature had a skull for a face with long ram horns, curling it downward. It stood around 8 feet tall. It was black with a hint of brown and burgundy in its fur. There was a dark substance leaking from the glowing orb, where the hilt of my life was sparkling in the moonlight. Taking my eyes off this monstrous display, I looked back at the road to see a massive semi. When I awoke, the time displayed on my alarm clock was 2:47 a.m., and I heard sound of glass breaking downstairs. What? I thought to myself. Was this all a dream? Suddenly, I heard the sound of hooves on tile. Crap, I thought to myself, sliding off my bed and trying to lay under it. I heard a breathing to my left ear. Found you. I awoke again, this time displaying on my alarm clock 2:47 a.m. I heard the sound of breaking glass downstairs. No, 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 no! I muttered to myself. There was a screeching from downstairs, a thundering coming up the stairs, and I grabbed the knife, cowering against the bed frame. Its bestial head peered in, followed by its grotesque frame. It took one step in, and I suddenly lunged off my bed, charging at the beast. But it grabbed me, before throwing me out the window, and I saw its auburn eyes peering at me through the window, before it went black again. I awoke this time. The time displayed on my alarm clock was 2:47 a.m., but I heard the sound of glass breaking downstairs. I took a deep breath, regaining my composure. Grabbing my knife, I slid off my bed, once again avoiding anywhere the forward creak giving away my position. Remembering there was an attic access in my closet, rushing as quietly as I could towards the door. I pulled the knob, opening the closet. There was a small squeak from the hinge. I could hear grunting from the foot of the stairs. Sliding in the doorway, I swiftly pulled the door shut, and I heard something burst into the room. A screech was let out before I could hear the tearing of fabric from the bed. I heard as my dresser was knocked over on the floor. Glass shattered as it tears apart my room. The sounds of miscellaneous items hitting the walls and floor. It all went quiet until it let out a screech of fury. I heard the sounds of hooves slowly fading down the hallway. Raising my arm to the access hatch, pulling it slowly, the ladder slid down. The ladder creaked slightly, and I began climbing swiftly, knowing that it heard me. I pulled the hatch up as I looked around the dim space before me. Seeing old clothes, light fixtures, and furniture with a decent layer of dust on top, illuminated by a small grime-covered window that I could still see the glint of the full moon through. The closet below exploded with noise. I felt the floor below me sag. When I awoke, the time displayed on my alarm clock was 2:47 a.m., and I heard the sound of glass breaking downstairs. I took a breath, grabbing my knife, slightly jogging down the hallway, slipping into the bathroom. He waited for the beast to barrel down the hall. I remembered the Glock in the drawer in the hall near the kitchen. If I could retrieve it, I may be able to defend myself. Hearing the tearing fabric, I slipped down the hall, avoiding the glass at the foot of the stairs. I opened the cabinet, grabbing the Glock, and steadied myself at the counter facing the stairs, flicking the gun off safety. I heard the breaking of glass from upstairs and a thud outside. In the moonlight, I saw the figure running off into the forest, running to the back door. I slipped on my shoes, opening the door to the cold gust of wind, hearing an ungodly screech as the large dark figure barreled towards me. Raising the handgun, there were 3 distinct cracks that split the night. The orange glow of the fire and gas lit up the area. After my eyes adjusted into the darkness, looking into the place, I saw it running. There were a few drops of black tar-like substance smoking in its overturned snow. I suddenly feel the cold pain in my gut looking down. I saw something like bones sticking through my stomach, the crimson of blood splashing against the white of snow. When I awoke, the time displayed on my alarm clock was 2:47 a.m., and I heard the sound of glass breaking downstairs. Oh, wow. That was good. I liked it a lot. Let's see. I was eating. I love your videos, man. Keep up the great work. Your community loves you. I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you. What's for dinner? I need ideas before I just DoorDash Taco Bell. That sounds really good. Who's your favorite skateboarder and company? I don't really know. I don't really follow skateboarding. Let's see. Haven't been around lately, but heard it was your birthday. Happy birthday, Entropy. And hello all. Hello. Your local demon. Hey. Nice. Now a car alarm's going off. Oh, it's off now. Nice. Hey, I love your videos. Much love from Greece. Thank you. It's very nice of you. Never been to Greece. That sounds fun. Alright. Alright, that's exit this one. I'm gonna get a sip here. Man, my mouth is hurting. I haven't really talked for this long for a long time. Let's see. Has anyone responded on Twitter? I don't think they're going to, but I can still check. And no, that's fine. I'm going to post this on Twitter, by the way. I don't think I have. Gonna post this on Twitter. Alright, let's see. Where's the live stream? What did you guys think of the Boy Scout story? What did you think of that one? Hopefully you liked it. Alright, I'm going to post this on Twitter. I never use Twitter, by the way. So, yeah. Yeah. So, I have like... How many... I think I have like 100 followers on Twitter. I'm like the furthest away from being verified on Twitter. Okay, I just posted my live stream. I should have done that earlier, but like I said, I have like no followers on Twitter. Let's see, how many do I have? Let's see. How do I check my Twitter? I have 300. I'm following more people than I have followers. I'm following 300. Is it mainly because I just follow people that just do have horror channels? And so if you have a horror channel, I just follow you on Twitter. So I'm following 384, and I have 359 followers. It's really funny. It's really funny. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, let's see. The Boy Scout was great. Yeah. See, I just typed out a story in Discord. Nice. Perhaps a Wendigo bumped into the car. I thoroughly enjoyed the Boy Scout story. The realization if he didn't trust his instincts and ran. Yeah, that's kind of what... That's... Yeah. I think that... I wanted to make it where... It was... He couldn't think about it. He just had to act. And then the consequences of either were going to be... Like, one was going to be terrible and one was going to be... like, obviously the solution, so... but yeah. Yeah, I hope you guys like that one. But yeah, I looked to do more stories. I think what made that one good is I kind of went out of my way and made it a little more I don't know, not necessarily grotesque, but I added more details to it. So, Meatloaf, I am glad I made it. I am a little late. No, you're good. Happy birthday. Thank you. How did you know? How did you know it was my birthday? Yeah, no, it is. All right, let's see. Let's see here. Oh, a dating site. Oh, nice. Why do bots do that? I don't get it. I don't get it, man. That's all good. All right, let's see. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the live stream. Let's see. Trying to think. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. Jeepers 1 and 2. Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 are good. Are good horror movies. I agree. I like the second one. Is that the one where they're like out in the cornfield and they're like on a bus? I think that's the second one. I don't know how many there are. Let me Google that really quick. How many Jeepers Creepers are there? how many? Yeah, Hocus Pocus 2 is... Oh, is that now out? What is that out on? Just curious. Jeepers Creepers. Okay, so there's 3 of them? 4. There's 4 of them. So there's a 2017 version, and then there's a one... Is this already out? Oh, there's one in theaters now. I had no idea there was a Jeepers Creepers Reborn. I had no idea. That literally blows my mind that there's a Jeepers Creepers currently out. So I've seen 1 and 2, and then apparently there's a 3rd one that came out, which I had no idea that happened. And then there's another one that's out, which blows my mind. Okay, cool. Interesting. Oh yeah, Hocus Pocus 2 is now out. Nice. I haven't seen the first one until like 3 years ago, I think. So let's see, you should do a story in the person's POV, being turned into a Wendigo, slowly going through the changes and all. Very detailed, I might add. Would capture the horror, in my opinion. Interesting. I have done one kind of like that, where what ends up happening is that the person in the story has schizophrenia, but the schizophrenia is the Wendigo talking. Kind of like Venom in a way. So like the Wendigo like talks to him, and then it like is trying to like take over his body or whatever. But yeah, I see what you're saying. That would be interesting. It's kind of along the lines of that. But Darkstalker 212, yes. LOL. 3 and the reboot sucks. Oh, well there you go. Most typically do. That's what I've seen in those. That's what, unless it's like, I don't know, like a really good series or something. There's like a new Halloween that's out. I'm probably not gonna see it in theaters, even though I love the Halloween movies. I'm probably gonna wait until it comes out on something. But yeah, I've recently watched Black Phone. That I really enjoyed. I highly recommend watching Black Phone. I think as a horror writer and narrator, it opened me up to more ideas. It's definitely something different. If you haven't seen it already, I highly recommend watching it. It's really good. I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, definitely check out Black Phone for sure. Let's see. I'm really close. Not terribly close. I mean, I'm a couple away of hitting 40,000, which I think is cool. 40,000 subscribers, which will be a neat milestone. I think the big one for me will be the 50,000 milestone, but yeah, I'm pretty close to hitting that. I think I'm at, what am I at now? Let me see. I'm at, what am I at? I'll give you the exact number. Let's see, 39,938. So I'm what, 62 short? So, yeah. Let's see. The Boy Scout Skinwalker one. So that picture that you see on that one was an AI image. I typed in Skinwalker looking in through a window, and that's what it came up with, which I obviously thought was really cool. Yeah, it's pretty scary. I don't know how AI does that kind of stuff. Yeah. I love that one as well. Mr. White, that's correct. Came in clutch, just like Venom. Some more of those would be interesting. I want to do one where he does like actual detective work, and what do you call it? The Wendigo doesn't come out, but he uses the Wendigo's ability to like mind read and stuff to like help him. Like I want to do like more stories with like what do you call it? just like the guy, just like doing like just detective work, and then the Wendigo or his schizophrenic episodes are like very accurate, things like that. I think that'd be cool. Midjourney. No, I use what do you call it? What is it called? I use an app called I'm looking it up right now. It's called Starry AI, and it's with 2 R's. The Thing is The Thing is an amazing sci-fi horror movie. I have heard of it. I've seen both. I'm a big fan of the original with Kurt Russell. But no, that's an amazing movie. Definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't seen it. You need to check it out. It's amazing. I like it because the two movies do overlap, which is cool. Sounds like a TV show. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be very cool. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see, alright. I got a new phone recently, and it's making me, like, get a bunch of, like update all my stuff, which is so annoying. That's fine. Alright. I'm probably gonna do, like, one more story. Just because I've been reading for, like, so long. Let's see here. That and I want to, like, relax. Watch a movie. Watch a scary movie. You know. Cloverfield. I like Cloverfield. I haven't seen the Cloverfield Paradox yet. But I think that's something worth watching. Do you plan on continuing the Cornfield National Park Skinwalker stories? The fact that you linked them was so amazing. Anxious to hear more. That's a great question. What I want to do, I want to make some more videos of different things. But I eventually plan on, I plan on, connecting it to another set of stories that take place. I think that'd be cool. For sure. I'm thinking of maybe doing it like it takes place in the future. Where, so you know how all those people, like, went through that portal, that creature grabbed them and pulled them to the... They're all in that spaceship, and the creature pulled them in. I want to make it where the creature pulls them in, and it's like a futuristic Earth. Yeah. I think that'd be cool. They're like in like a Fallout-looking Earth in a spaceship. The Paradox. I'll have to check it out. I'll have to check it out, Banshee. If you suggest it, I'll check it out. Alright. Let's see here. Dang, I just realized how long the stream was. Yes, it is, it's a long stream. I thought I'd, make it a little longer for you guys. Okay, I'm probably not gonna read this one. This one's super long. Okay. I will read this one. I've read this one before. It's been a while, though, since I've read it. But I like it. It's a good one. This one is titled, I Don't See Him Anymore. It's kind of, not like the other one, but it's kind of similar. It's a little bit of a psychological cryptid horror, which is always fun. Let's see here. Alright. This one's titled, I Don't See Him Anymore. It is on Creepypasta Wiki, and it is an anonymous story. I used to see him often. Well, I guess I shouldn't say him, more like it. Then I moved away, to another state, another city. I don't see it anymore. Not physically, though. It creeps through my mind in its swooping, slinking way, high up in the air one moment, then sliding across the ground the next, over and over and over. Its limbs propel it forward. The mere thought sends ice-cold shivers running down my spine. I used to watch me, but I can't anymore. At least I don't think it can. I would be surprised, however, to wake up in the early hours of the day when the sky is still dark and look to my window to see those eyes, those teeth. See it smile that awful smile. I hope I'm dead before that day arises. I hope I've seen the last of that monster. When I was little, I lived in a small suburban neighborhood. It wasn't the kind you're probably thinking of. Big white uniform houses all lined up in perfect rows with green lawns and 2 garage doors. No. My neighborhood was much older. It was built sometimes in the 50s, and every house looked different, but most had started to fall apart. The people living there were hardworking and honest for the most part, and their long, hard lives showed on their faces. No one really talked to anyone else. That was one of the only things I didn't like about the neighborhood. My mother always said the neighbors just liked to keep to themselves, that they had nothing very important to say anyway. Looking back on it now, I think they did have something important to say. Something very, very important. I saw it for the first time when I was about 8 years old, during the summer. It was very hot that season. Unusually so compared to all the other summers I've had since then, so I'd stayed inside most of the morning. Then after lunch, my father hooked up the sprinkler we used for our garden in our backyard. I excitedly got into play clothes and rushed outside, into the blinding sun. Those were the days. Those innocent days in the sun where I played without a care. I had no idea I would soon be missing them. So I was outside running and laughing and jumping through the cool spray of water when I saw it. At first I didn't notice it. It was just a rustle in the bushes. Then it was the crack of a branch and I looked up. Something dark moved through those leaves. Something as black as midnight, yet it shimmered when the sun had hit it. It ran or galloped. To this day, I'm not sure whether to call it. From a small forest behind my house, slipped over my neighbor's fence, and disappeared from my view. I was curious, so I chased it. The pavement burned my feet, but I didn't care. I watched along with a few other neighborhood children as the creature swept in and out of the shadows of the trees, making its way down the street. It was large, probably about 8 feet tall, if it stood upright, though it never did. Instead, it stayed hunched over and its hind legs curled up at its side, the knees protruding grotesquely past its torso. Large white curled claws grew from the bony feet and long slender fingers. The arms were gnarled, the joints burgled under a twisted muscle and skin. The arms were gnarled and the joints bulging under twisted muscle and skin. Skin that was black and rubbery stretched thin over whatever bones the beast had. It caved in at odd places and almost looked as if it was still rotting. Still, when it crept to the sun, patches glistened gray and blue, as if it was made of some kind of foreign glass. There was a face. The skin was the same, stretched over an oblong oval skull that jutted out its back. Its eyes were sunken deep within its head. Large and round and hollow. There glowed a weird white yellow. One I'm not sure it has a name to this day. Really, it wasn't even glowing. It was more pulsating, ever-present light that seemed to come straight from some non-existent soul deep within the creature's core. It always seemed to smile. Its face was stretched like its skin, far across its face. You know the expression, grinning ear to ear. It was the literal case, each corner reaching each side of its face, where ears would have been if it had any. Within the smile, there were 2 rows of pure white teeth, long and sharp. In fact, each tooth was so long it could never close its mouth. The sharp tips just clanked against each other, as it sulked around, waving its head slowly from one side to another, as if sniffing something in the air. I used to find this silly, since it had no nose. Now the thought terrifies me. We kind of just watched in some sort of dazed amazement, never having seen something like it before. I suppose I thought it was some species I'd yet to learn about in school. wish that's all it would have been. Then her parents called us back inside for dinner, and we grudgingly obeyed, not wanting to get into trouble. I'm not sure about the other kids, but I never quite forgot the creature I'd seen. I got preoccupied with other things, sure, but the image was always in the back of my mind, burning there, waiting for me to remember it late night while I tried to drift off into sleep. It got its wish. That night I was lying in bed with my covers pulled up to my chin despite how hot I was. The nightlight across the room barely gave me comfort from the thoughts of ghosts and ghouls hiding in my closet, or under my bed. Then the beast's image slipped into my thoughts. I gripped the covers. It had scared me before, yet I'd been mere feet away from it, but now, after having the image sit in my mind all day, my brain registered its unworldly appearance. It started to fear it. It was bad. I knew that now. Then I heard a tap. I froze. Another tap. I didn't dare move. Then there was another and another. It was at my window. I could hear its long claws scrape across the glass. I heard its razor-sharp fangs as they clinked together. I could hear its breathing, heavy, husky, in and out, in and out. Finally, I could no longer bear it. I tore my eyes from my nightlight and gazed through the dark room towards my window. It smiled when it saw me. An impossibly huge grin that split its face in two, with white teeth glistening with saliva, gleaming eyes seeming to pull every fear from my conscious and unconscious to the surface. I screamed. By the time my parents rushed into the room, it was gone, but no trace of its existence left behind. They said it was just a nightmare. It wasn't just a nightmare. I never saw it in the daytime again, but I saw it every night after. After a week, I stopped screaming. I just cried silently in my bed. Then after another week, I stopped crying. I knew I was scared. It knew I was scared. I wasn't going to give it the satisfaction of seeing me tremble. It wasn't until it found the lock on my window that I was truly terrified. I never forgot the clunk the lock made when it had been moved for the first time in years, or the waning screech of the window as it slid open slowly, or the heavy breathing at my bedside. I'll never forget those eyes as they gazed at me from beyond my covers. I knew I was scared. I thrived on that. It wouldn't leave me alone. Everyone says I went crazy, but I didn't. It just wouldn't leave me alone. I hardly slept since. My hair started to fall out, and I always looked tired. My parents put me here in this psychiatric hospital. It's a nut house. That's what it is. I'm not crazy. It's been years. The nightmare still happens when I do sleep, so they keep me here. I suppose I like it better this way, although, after all, the monster can't get me here. You know, the funny thing is, I can't even remember where I used to live. I can't remember the state or the city. I can't even remember the country. Oh my gosh. Alright, let's see. I've forgotten which video I heard it from, but the one story of the guy capturing, which is essentially a rage, hateful Bigfoot, and had called his friends to move the tree out of the way. Huh, interesting. Later that same Bigfoot attacks his neighbor, cattle. They went to warn him, and eventually have their backs weeks, months. Okay, interesting. The story was great too, all of them, but I can't say it enough. Interesting. Nice. I'm glad. Thank you guys so much. This live stream really long. So we just passed over about 3 hours. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the live stream. I certainly did. I think I'm going to start winding down for the night. Sorry, I'm just kind of tired. Oh, goodness gracious. My mouth's hurting like crazy. Thank you guys so much for the birthday wishes. I had a great day. I'm glad you guys were able to be a part of it. Thank you so much for joining the live stream. If you enjoy the live streams, make sure to tune in. Not this coming week, but next week, we're going to be doing 13 nights of live streams. So, 13 nights of Hallow streams, I should say, leading up to Halloween. On the live streams, we'll be having different narrators, and we'll just be talking about different fun things. I won't be telling necessarily stories, but just kind of talking with other narrators and just kind of seeing what the horror community has in store for future stories. But yeah, anyways, I appreciate you guys dropping in. Ash Souls, that was great, thank you. Sean P, happy B-Day, appreciate it. Amazing stream, happy birthday, Tropic. Rest your voice, hang out with your wife, catch a movie, and have a creepy night, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you guys, thank you so much for making my day all the more special. You guys are amazing. Anyways, if you guys want to, you can save this video, put a like on it, that way you can watch it later and enjoy it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the last 3 hours. If you want, you can use this as another video if you'd like. But yeah, anyways, hopefully you guys have a great evening. Make sure to join in the Discord that Banshee just posted there. That way the fun doesn't have to end. Let's see. I'm going to watch The Conjuring. The devil made me do it for the first time. Wish you a happy birthday once again. And goodbye, everyone. Take care. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. Have a wonderful evening. And let's make this month a fun, spooky month. Have a great evening. And thank you for all the birthday wishes. Good night.